Oh, God, it's a backhand. And you know that you're not going to play well if you have that kind of fear. But most people would say, I don't have any fear. That's because in the warm-up, man, you run around all the backhands and hit forehands, so you look good all the time. But you can't keep doing that because somebody's going to run you wide and finally hit it to your backhand. You can't say to somebody, look, if you promise only to hit to my forehand, I will make you look good. But you can't do that. And then you can also say to Helen, look, Helen, don't hit anything to my backhand. I don't hit backhands until after lunch. You can't do that. You see, it is true that the strokes are identical, and that's the tact we're going to take. In this whole lesson, what we want you to understand is the backhand and forehand look the same. Now watch on the forehand side. You have a little backswing, a little loop, but then you get the racket down. Now you go forward and low to high as you're moving forward. The backhand has a little backswing on it, and then it gets down to this point, and the forward movement is all low to high. Everything's exactly the same. Now, take a look at this split screen that we have, and if you'll watch that the forehand and backhand are exactly the same. When you see the forehand taking swing, the racket goes back and down together, forward, and up together. The backhand makes an identical movement. The backhand goes back, down, three-point landing, the butt and the foot down, and then they go forward and upward together. Everything's the same. Backswing, three-point landing, and forward and upward, and the follow-through. Well, then people say, well, okay, if they're just alike, are you telling me that there are no differences? Yeah, there's some differences, and a couple of them are, one relates to strength. And the fact is that you need stronger extensor muscles. And if you can get those extensor muscles strong, you can keep the racket head still. But if you don't have them, you go like this. But if you have strong extensors, you can do this. Keep the racket head firm all the way through. But the other one is relative to the hitting point. The hitting point on the backhand, when you're hitting a ball on the backhand side, you hit it here. But on the forehand side, you only hit even with your front side. On the forehand, you hit even with the front side, and on the backhand, you hit further out in front. Let me get rid of one of these balls for a second and just show you again. This hand is my forehand, this hand is my backhand. Now watch. Boom, I hit a forehand right here and a backhand here. And you can see that it's about a shoulder's width out in front of you. Well, the problem is, most people time the backhand and forehand the same. A ball is coming to them, and so as a result, they hit the forehand, say, even with the front side like this, and they time it just for this hit. Now, on the backhand, they have to hit further out, but they time it for the front side of their body. I'm going in this direction. And now, they're late. So what you have to get fixed in your mind is that you're going to start your swing sooner on the backhand, hit it way out. And I had someone say to me once, yeah, but what do you do if you're always late? And gee, the answer is pretty simple. You try to be too early. But most people can't because you have a tendency to always time it to make sure you're late, because that's what you're comfortable doing. So you go, this time, I'm really going to do it. And you go, and you're late again. So we would like you to try to swing too early. That's the cure for that. Now, Borg has a different kind of problem. Borg has a problem of he can be late on anything. Take a look at this, for example. When you hit a forehand, because the shoulder house and your hitting arm is on the backside, you can be late and still hit a pretty good shot, and you can hit good topspin. But on the backhand side, if you're late going that way, you cannot topspin. So you cannot be late on a backhand and hit a topspin. So you'll have to underspin. But on the forehand, you can be late and do it. People say, I see Borg hit the backhand late all the time, and he's still terrific. Well, that's true, but he really has two forehands in a way. Watch. He hits a forehand like this, and then he comes to hit a backhand, but he's a two-handed backhand, which is exactly the same stroke, but you notice that he can use his left hand just like he's hitting a left-handed forehand. So he can hit late and bring it up. But if he had one hand, he could not hit it here. He would have to hit it out here. And that's one of the advantages of having a two-handed backhand. People say, well, then, look, you're giving me some pretty great stuff, man. Why doesn't everybody have a two-handed backhand? And the answer is because everyone doesn't have a supple upper body. See, a lot of people play two hands pretty well, but you need a supple upper body because this upper body is the thing that really makes that backhand kick. But most people don't have a supple upper body. You don't see the two-handers in the world who play like this. You know, if you got a supple upper body, then that's fine. But if you don't have it, then I suggest you go to one hand, because one hand, when the body stops, the hand can go out fast. But you really rely with two-handed backhand upon a supple upper body. If you're a little bit ambidextrous, then try it. But the stroke patterns are the same. And the timing differences, when you hit a one-hander out here, but when you hit a two-hander, it's hitting in the same place as the forehand. Hit a two-hander, hit it even with the front side. Hit a one-hander, hit it further out. All right. Now, the advantage, by the way, if you hit two forehands, like Borg does, really, in a way, it's two forehands, you don't have to bend as much. It's true. When Borg hits the ball, he doesn't have to bend as much because look at this. I'm going this way now. When you hit a forehand, the racket face has to be vertical, and as a result on the forehand, you don't have to bend so much because it lays out there. The racket's vertical in a very easy manner. But on the backhand, when I'm going this way, if you don't bend, now the racket has a tendency to scoop. And so people start adding this when they let it drop. Wrist forward, elbow leading. And it's not very, very effective. All right, let's start from the beginning. All right, the ready position. You got to get to the ball some way. Now, people say, well, what's the best way? Well, on the backhand side or the forehand side, you're always starting from the same position because you don't know which way the guy's going to go. So now you're waiting for the person to serve to you. The left hand is cradling the racket at the throat. You're a very comfortable position. But you know, your eyes get tricked when you go to watch the top matches. When you go out to watch the pros, you see the pro get like this, Borg's like this, and when you watch him do this, and people say, that's it, that's my problem. No wonder I've been coming in second in a field of 2. I don't have this, right? But that's not your problem. Now, your problem is if you'll watch Borg carefully, just as the server gets ready to serve, he's not doing this, he does this. You've got to be able to come up because a little higher center of gravity will give you a better start when you're moving laterally. So if you're moving to the right or to the left, then don't be afraid to come up. If you're only going to go forward, then a lower center of gravity or a lower position would be good. But people see Borg do this, they say, hey, look, I want to be better than Borg, man. I want to live in Monte Carlo. So they say, well, if he gets this way, I'm getting this way. I will be better than him, right? But to be successful this way, your opponent has to serve under the net. See, you don't want to be low, you want to be up. So do what the pros do. Just as they get ready to hit, come on up and relax, that's all. Look, you're walking to the line to receive serve, that's it. Why do you need all this? The problem is you need strokes. You know, you don't need to make an initial impression. You need strokes. Now we get into the grip. Remember last week on the show we talked about forehand Eastern grip. The face of the racket and the palm being in exactly the same position for the racket face and the palm. But now we're going to take the backhand and put a different grip on this baby. We're going from here 90 degrees up to the top like this. And if you'll take a look at this palm, the palm is on top of the racket, fingers going out this way, and the thumb is at a diagonal, not straight up. If you put the thumb straight up on this grip like this, it'll require another elbow and wrist leading in order to have the racket face vertical. But we would like you to put the palm up on top, spread the index finger, now clutch it. But here's an interesting point. If you check your racket, you will see that the racket face and the ring finger on your right hand, and if you're left-handed, one hand, it's the same thing, that this space right here relates to this racket face. Now, all you have to do is to keep these knuckles going towards your intended target. And as long as I'm going towards that intended target with this knuckle, so is the racket face going in that direction. As a matter of fact, it's about 17 inches away. If I'm aiming right out for this particular spot right there, I know the ball's going to land 17 inches on that side. So all you have to do is keep the knuckles going out towards the target. And people say, yeah, but that's kind of a little tip. Give me a big multi-million-dollar tip. That's what I want, man. Now, let's talk about grip. People say, hey, wait a minute, coach. I saw that. You slipped it over on me pretty quickly, man. 90-degree change. But let me tell you something. People tell me all the time, there is not sufficient time to make the grip change. I have heard it all my life, too. I'm sure you have. If you want to use a one-grip game, which is halfway between the Eastern forehand and Eastern backhand, which is a Continental grip, palm on this second ridge. Here's 3, here's 2, here's 1. Palm is on 2. Now, that's a Continental, and people say, I like this grip, man, because now I don't have to change anything. Problem is, on the forehand, it requires a wrist roll. Remember, the ball's on the strings, only 4 milliseconds. Very difficult to make the judgment. On the backhand side, the racket head faces up again with this grip, and so you'll have to push it out. Now, remember, we want the racket face to be vertical at impact. Well, if you go like this and you can roll that racket and make it hit that ball, time it for 4 milliseconds, we don't really care. But let's go through this. I'll show you some rationale. If I hold a regular forehand grip, and now I hit the forehand. I hit it even with my front side. Now, remember, on the backhand, I'm going this way. Now I have to hit the ball further out in front of me. Well, if I keep this Eastern forehand grip, watch what happens. To have the racket vertical, which we need on the hit, and hit it an elbow span out in front of me, about that far out, here's what I need in wrist position and elbow position for a perfect hit. Now, look, when I take it out of my hand. All right? Now, people say, well, no one hits a ball like that. And I'm telling you, one of the greatest players in the history of the game. John Newcomb holds an Eastern forehand grip, And for the backhand, he holds this grip. And the kid seems to have a pretty fair future. So I'm saying to you that you can do it. But you're not as strong as John Newcomb. John Newcomb can do that and have his wrist out and elbow lead, and he's built up those muscles, and he can get away with it. You're more vulnerable to injury when the wrist and elbow lead. Now, if you hold a Continental Grip, watch that one. That one will require a pretty good wrist movement to make that racket head go straight up and down. And remember, 1 degree is 6 feet of length. Now, if you hit the ball like this with Continental and you don't make this change, this ball will not land before you leave. I guarantee you, you'll see that you've got to make that head go way up. Well, if you hold a full change, full 90 degree, even that one has a slight bevel. You see this one? And even that one requires a little bit of a pushback with that wrist and elbow. Now, when we ask people, tell us when you think the racket is right. Stop at the hitting point and tell us. And nearly everyone stops with the racket like this. Now, we say, keep your eyes closed, and then we'll put the racket up straight for them. We say, tell us how this feels. And they'll always say, that really feels crummy. And we say, look, remember that crummy feeling. You have paid hundreds to get that, and it's going to make you famous. Now, so you want to feel crummy if it's right, but a lot of people really feel terrific. Unfortunately, the ball is going up all the time. We would rather you feel crummy and be good. Now, here's the problem with the grip change. People say there's not sufficient time. Wrong. We've done all kinds of studies to show you that actually you can change grips before you can get almost any shot in the game. But there are some complications, so you have to find out for yourself whether I'm putting you into the right mold. So take your best shots at me. Take a look at this. I suggested you change a quarter turn. And most of the top pros will even say, if you had time, it would be best to make the change. But even some of the top pros say you don't have time. So let's take a look. I go from here to here. That's a 90-degree turn. Well, if I put this hand down a little bit, which is about an 1/8 turn, this hand about an 1/8 turn, 2/8 make a quarter. So all you're doing when you change a grip is taking each palm and going, ting, ting. Now watch as I get closer, you'll see. That's all I'm doing, ting. Now, do this. Try it at home, because you don't want to try it in public, because people will laugh at you and think you're on the sauce. I mean, it's a terrible kind of thing. But I'm going to try to make my foot take a faster first step than my hand. Now I'm going to go like this. I'll hold my grip, and then I'm going to go, hey, and see whether or not, now you see, the palm's on the top. Now watch, hey. But you see, the fact is, your hands will always beat your feet. Now, the real valid argument that we found in our research project is that some people cannot perform 2 separate tasks simultaneously, right? All right, so here's what we found. Some people have to go switch, step, or they go step, switch. Now, those are the people who go back to the fence to get their ball. If you'll go out and just spend 5 minutes a day, 5 days a week, you will get the doggone grip change so fast, even on volleys. People say, wait a minute, what if a guy's got an overhead smash right in front of me? You think I got time to change? What grip should I hold? I say, go for this one, man. The guy's going to kill you. So just get out of there. If you got a ball stuck in your mouth, but you have a Continental, what good does it do you? See, I'm just saying, get out of there. All right. Now, what we want to do is to get you in a frame of mind that this is a very objective sport. The ball goes absolutely where you aim it. If the ball goes over the fence, it's because you've aimed it there. So if the racket is tilted like this, the ball usually is going up. So don't change the fact that you're going to lift the ball. What you want to do is change the fact that the racket needs to be straight up and down. So learn to go low to high, but if the ball's going up, it's only because you have the bottom under. You all need immediate feedback. But people get feedback all the time. The direction of the ball tells you exactly what's happening to your racket. But most people won't listen. That's, you know, they blame it on the equipment. They go, geez. You know, well, it's not the equipment. Again, it's you. It's the thing that's hanging onto the grip. So what we want you to do is take a good lesson, get immediate feedback, whatever it is. All right, now we say to you, you've got to keep the racket out away from your body and got to keep that racket head still, but it's hard to do sometimes because these extensor muscles aren't very strong for most people, so you got to build them up. Now, some people will go out and squeeze tennis balls, but some squeeze balls in such a way that they only become good ball squeezers. No, it's very important. It is true that fingers are important, but you need those extensors, so make sure you're holding that arm out there and watch when you're squeezing and see if those muscles are really working. You want the flexors and the extensors to be making a little move on you there. You'll need that to hold the racket still. Now, what we see for most people is as they get ready to hit, they let this racket head fall, and now the racket goes underneath. You've got to hold that thing steady. And when you're hitting a ball, it's very hard to keep it steady when this thing isn't strong. Francoise Dewar, I mean, she hits. If you've seen Frankie hit the ball, I mean, she holds her finger up like this. She is sensational. But remember, I wouldn't try what she tries. She hits like this. But she can choke a bull with 2 fingers, too. I mean, most people can't do that. See, most people hit like this, they would go looking for their hand. We used to have a little water cooler here where we had the little cups. And we had to get rid of those on the backhand lessons because people would come in after a backhand lesson, their extensors weren't strong, and after hitting 1,000 or so shots, their arms like this, they could never get the water up to their mouth. I mean, people were throwing water over the thing and then to their blouse. You know, we use drinking fountains because people can make the water spout hit their mouth. The head doesn't shake as much as the extensors. So we would like you to get out there and build up those extensors. It's very important. Now, when the ball bounces, now we're getting ready to demo these things and put it into effect. When the ball bounces, you have to be ready to go forward. Once a ball bounces, you've already said it's a backhand, so you know the ball before it even reaches the net is coming and the racket's back. Now, when the ball bounces, 3 things should happen simultaneously. The racket goes down, butt goes down, and foot goes out. 3 things. Now remember, as you're dropping, the foot goes out because you want to have it here ready to step forward and get the balance point over this foot. As a matter of fact, when you finish, if you could finish with your shoulder out ahead of this foot, it would be very good for you. But most people finish with the shoulder over this foot. Now, I'm going to show you later that's almost catastrophic for you. All right, the ball is bounced. Racket goes down, butt down, foot out. Now you just come right back up. All right, watch this. Make the little loop. Ball bounces, down, out. And you finish high like this. Let me have a couple balls here for a second. All right, we've given you a lot of theory. Now we got to put it into practice. The racket's back, racket and butt down and foot out, and now you come out and up. And notice where I finish on this follow-through. But the #1 error in tennis, as far as I'm concerned, is not getting the racket lower than the intended point of impact with the ball. If you hit with one hand, you bring the racket down to this point, left hand touches the thigh. As a matter of fact, to make sure you touch the thigh, I always wanted to invent this little gadget. And you put it on your thigh, and the thing talks to you. If you hit it and click it, it rewards you. And it goes, "You are the greatest." And now you can make the hit. But see, most people don't get it down to here. Most people are here. As a matter of fact, we'll say to people, because the backhand tricks you. You see, when you're hitting a backhand, this upper arm is down. And so you think your racket's down. But actually, the lower arm is pointed up. And so we'll say to people, tell us when your racket's against your thigh. And people will go, "No." And they're just positive it's down here somewhere, see? But it's not down here, it's up here. So you're going to go back, touch the thigh, and now go forward and up. And watch. If you do this right and you go forward and up, your thighs get a great workout, and you don't have to swing hard. Now remember, when we go back, you want the racket face to be down a little bit. We showed you that on the forehand side, so that it's straight here. So I go back, the racket face is down, but it's straight here. Take a look. And that goes over and down with topspin. If I can have a couple balls there, thank you. Thank you. All right, back, down, and up. Now, if you do let your thighs lift, look at the workout you get. And people say to me all the time, "Look, man, you know the problem with tennis? I just played 3 sets and gained 2 pounds. And it drives them crazy. But see, if you ever go watch them play, here's how they play. They go. And no wonder you're gaining 2 pounds. Your arm's getting a workout. You talk a lot, you get thin lips. But that's all that's happening to you. See, you've got to make this body move. And you don't want to play with your wrist. You don't want to roll the racket or anything. Now, let me give you a test for that. Watch when I hit this ball and I finish my swing. I'll go down, up, down, and up. And when I finish the swing, I now check it. I let the arm fall to where the elbow's a finger span in front of me. Now, if the racket head is still in perfect position, I know how much I've rolled it during the course of the swing. For example, if I go like this, now I let it drop. Wow. Whatever it takes me to move it back to this position is the amount in reverse that I've rolled it on the swing. So you can all go home and for nothing figure out what's wrong with your follow-through. So you go like this. Now, kids will do this. You know, it's absolutely amazing. Here's what kids will do. They'll go like this, and they go, "Oh, son of a gun. I had to roll it back this far. That's how much I've rolled it during the swing." Adults cheat. I don't know why. They don't feel like they have a right to be crummy. Adults go like this. They go, "Yeah, perfect." Don't cheat. Now, another thing that you can do is get immediate feedback. If you finish like this, and you know the perfect follow-through. The perfect follow-through is here. So if you know the perfect follow-through, if you take a lousy one, every time assume the perfect follow-through. Watch this. So you go like this, go. Oh. And if you do that every time, I'm telling you, you're going to get a good feedback. You'll know what you're doing wrong. So go to the appropriate position that you should have finished the swing. And it'll tell you. It'll give you all the clues you want. Now, power supply. You want to swing inside out, not outside in. Remember, if you swing out this way, if you normally hit the ball here, and now you hit it here, you are 2 times further out. You get 4 times the power. If you normally hit it here, and now you swing out there, you're 3 times further out. You get 9 times the power. So when you swing, don't swing this way, swing this way. If you're right-handed, swing out towards the left net post, and if you're left-handed, you want to swing out towards the right net post. But the feeling is you're going to hit it over there. But watch. If I have the right position with my wrist, now I swing, it looks like I'm going over there, but see when I reach the front side of my body, the racket's actually pointed right out towards the net. So don't get the feeling it's going to go over there. To hit it over there, you'd actually have to make a wrist push like this. All right? Now on this backswing and the drop, it's very important. Your power comes from this drop, and you want to imagine like a water bucket. Just let the racket fall. Watch. And when you get that little water bucket feeling, then you let it come right back up. You know the water bucket thing where you swing the bucket and try to keep the water in the bucket? That's the feeling. Go, and if you can get that feeling, you're going to get the racket down, which is the #1 error in the game, getting it lower than the intended point of impact of the ball, and that's the racket. All right. Body and racket should go up together. Could I have a couple of balls there, please? And I'll show you this one. All right. Now watch carefully. I'm going to swing, and when I go down, notice that they come up together. Now, this is different than most people have heard. A lot of people write me some nasty letters about this. Say, wait a minute, I've been told to stay down. Well, if you stay down and you're successful, we don't care. I mean, you can play any way you want if you're successful. But the fact is, research has shown that when the racket goes up at this angle, if the body could also go up at that angle, you are the most effective. Body and racket at the same angle. That's why you'll see some of the top players off the ground, because when they're going up. But have your foot in contact with the ground when you hit, but it's this lift. And you'll see, if you're lifting properly, and you go out and try this and practice it, watch what happens when you get up tomorrow, because you won't. You will roll out of bed onto the floor, and your rear end will be so doggone sore. I'll take a couple more balls and show you this one. All right, watch the head. When you hit the ball, if your head stays down, the stroke stays smooth. But people say, wait a minute, I cannot lift because when I lift, my head throws back. But you don't have to. I don't know where that came from. The research shows us that you can lift easily, be very effective, but you don't have to throw your head. Watch. See, my head's still down. So you don't have to look up. But most people use their head in order to make their legs lift. So funny thing about people and their thighs, all right? Now, kinetic chain, we're getting down to the end, so hang on careful. We're going to give you some power supply. The power supply comes from this body moving the same as the forehand, which we told you last week. The forehand is 1, 2, 3, 4. Backhand, when you hit the ball, you're going to turn your body into the ball. The foot must be in contact with the ground. There are 4 segments. 1, foot to the knee to the hip to the head is 3, and this arm and racket 4. And it should go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you don't take too long a swing, it'll work for you. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll hit that ball very hard. The problem is most people get back too far and go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we want you to shorten the swing, get your knees down, and don't be afraid to lift, because you can swing not too hard and hit the ball very, very hard. All right, keep an eye on a guy like Don Budge. When Don Budge, if you ever see any of his old films, Don had a tremendous lift and tremendous power. Legs came up, arm up to the sky. Jack Kramer used to say, all I can remember is Budge lifting his thighs, the arm up like this. And I say, why would he put his arms up like that? And the answer is because if he's going low to high, he can't stop it from going up there. We have 3 initials to help you do that. If you go low to high and finish properly, you'll make a little archway here, and your arm will be up, and the initials are ATA. And that stands for air the armpits. And you will see it will help you an awful lot. Now, we want you not to lean back, because if you lean back when you hit and you're afraid of it, you're going to get yourself in with the racket leaning back like this. And for every degree the shoulder leans back, the racket leans back. So make this change. Change it from here to here. And there are tons of common problems on the backhand, and we're going to show you some of those common problems and the cures that go with those common problems. Watch how this person swings across the body. Remember, you should keep your follow-through going toward your opponent, not towards the side fence. And here's one of the most common problems. Notice how the hitters are too high with their rackets before they start their forward movement. The cure is to have the racket stroke touch. It's kind of a humiliating sport. If you look at it this way, beginners go out to play the game, and they start off hitting against a wall. What happens? They lose to the doggone wall. Not only do they lose, but they lose half naked. Plus, it's also an objective game. You see, that if you are the last on the ladder at your club, it's because you're the worst. So what we're trying to do is to get you to play a lot better sooner, so you can have a lot more fun. Loosen up. Laugh and win. That's the whole name of the game. And this series is for everybody. It's for you people who have a nice forehand, nice backhand, nice serve, nice volley. But it's also for you people who only own your shoes and racket. Well, what do you need to start to play this game of tennis? You need a court. This is a tennis court. It is 2,208 square feet. It is 78 feet long and 36 feet wide. This is the baseline. And over here, the double sideline. This is the single sideline. This is the service line. And strangely enough, this is the center line. This is the service box. This is the net. It is 3 feet 6 inches here. It's 3 feet 4 inches here, but only 3 feet here. All you need is a racket and a ball. The game can be played by 2 men, and the game can be played by 2 women. And the game can be played by 1 man and 1 woman. Or the game can be played by 2 men against 2 men. And the game can be played by 2 women against 2 women. And the game can be played by 1 woman, 1 man against 1 woman and 1 man. 22 people cannot play tennis. It has been tried and was found to be impractical. You lose points when your shot hits the net. And you lose points when the ball bounces twice on your side before you hit it. And you lose points when your shots land outside the sidelines. And you lose points when you swing at the ball and miss it completely. And you win points when your opponent loses points. So now you know the basics to play the game, but there's more to it than that. There's strategy, there's strokes, there's conditioning, there's psychology, and we're going to cover them all in the next 13 weeks. We're going to start off on the forehand. So let's go inside and let's discover the facts and the myths about this stroke. All right, first of all, let's dispose of some of the myths and the problems of this game. And myth number 1, you've all heard it. Keep your eye on the ball. Watch the ball hit the strings of your racket. But can you do that? The answer is no, because ophthalmologists have shown us very good evidence that when the ball hits the court, it comes up to your racket, the last 40 degrees, or about 3 feet before it hits your racket, that requires a very sudden head shift, and your eyes blank out. Now, it is true. You can stand like this, and if the ball's coming very slowly, you could maybe see it hit the strings of your racket. But if the guy hits your backhand, you're dead. So you're not going to be able to stand there and watch the ball hit the strings of the racket. Now, also, Dr. Bernie Slatt in Toronto has shown us very good evidence that on the dead run, your eyes absolutely fog up. So your eyes are foggy, and you don't see the last 40 degrees. We're saying you're lucky to be alive. I mean, that's really the problem with this game. So don't worry about it. But people say, hey, wait a minute, my neighbor Helen, she says she can see it. But that's not true at all. You just live close to a liar. I mean, she can't see that at all. But people think they can see it. That's okay. So then why do we say keep your eye on the ball? Well, we want you to pretend like you do keep your eye on the ball because it keeps your head still. And these 2 heads are related. When this head stays still, this swing is smooth. Now, why do people look up then? Well, there's a fascinating thing. The brain actually works 200 milliseconds ahead of the shot. So it's a 200 millisecond delay. The brain's made the shot. The racket hasn't. Your brain looks up to see where the doggone ball's going, but the racket looks up at the same time. That's why you walk back to the gate to find your ball. You've just whiffed it. All right. We have a little machine here that's going to measure how how long that delay is from your brain to your hand. And Mary Leigh is going to run this machine. She's our head coach here. And Kathy is going to run a little machine over here. It's called a Bassin Anticipatory Reflex Timer. Now this mechanism, Mary's going to run it down the line, and you'll see that the red light goes down that line, and when that red light goes down the line, Kathy is going to push the button at the same time the last red light lights up. Kathy, how do you think you did?
Right on.
Right on. Mary, what'd she do?
She was 67 milliseconds late.
57 or 67?
67.
67. Kathy, let's do it again. One more time. Let's do it a couple more times. Go, Mary. Okay. Whoa. Early or late?
She was 200 milliseconds late.
All right. Give her a Roscoe Tanner serve. Oh. Early or late?
She was 185 milliseconds late.
All right. We're going to have you all try this thing sooner or later, but try sometime to get yourself in a frame of mind that maybe you're not timing every ball just right. Now, the second reason that people look up is that hitters think their opponent's doing something really big at the same time. So you're looking up to see what that toad is doing. Well, they are really doing nothing. They're going like this. That's your image. They're going, take that, and that. But see, they're doing nothing. See, there's only one ball, and you have it. That's what you should think. That's very important. All right. Now, if your image is that your opponent's going, take that, and you're already getting nervous, then use imagery in a proper way. Just imagine your opponent like this. Right. And if you can get that fixed in your mind, then there won't be any problems. Who's going to beat you with a finger in their nose? All right. Now, I'll tell you how much the brain will work for people. We have people hitting a ball, running, photos of them hitting the ball is on the strings, they're running for the other corner. We say, where are you going? And they say, I'm going to get my opponent's shot. We say, hey, look, don't worry about his, because yours isn't going over. Right. Now, it's a very important thing for you. Take it one shot at a time. If you are in perfect position for every ball, swing properly and hit it in the center of the strings, you will never lose again in your entire life. Just take it one shot at a time. Now, most people think they have to improve 100% to beat most of the people who now beat them. Wrong. We've run some interesting experiments on that. If your average going over the net is only 3, how many more balls do you have to get your average up to beat most of the people who now beat you? The answer is 1. If you get your average from 3 to 4, you improve 33%. You improve 33%. See how many people you beat. Basically, you've got to give your opponent one more opportunity to take gas. That's an aim. So get the balls back. More balls back. At least one more ball on your average, and you're going to be absolutely so famous it's going to scare you. Now you got to buy time. People say, hey, my big problem is I don't buy any time. Start with, what do we mean by that? Buying time simply means getting a very fast first step so that when you get to the ball, you can swing slowly. And if you can do that, when you're swinging slowly, you can begin to find out what's going wrong. But most people swing so quickly at the ball, they don't know. I say, geez, did you feel it? They go, look, I'm just happy to get a tan. I don't know what's going on. All right. So if you stop and think about it, don't get so wrapped up in all of those mystical shots people own. They don't own them. Where can people hit a ball? They can hit it to your left, to your right, over your head, at your feet, or through your navel. That's the only way people can go. Now, I'm going to show you a little experiment. What's your name, sir?
Steve.
Steve. All right, Steve, I'm going to throw you a ball. I want you to throw it right back to me, catch it, throw it back. All right, one more time. All right? This time I'm going to throw you a ball up in the air somewhere. I won't tell you where it's going. Then I'm going to tell you, close your eyes. And I want you to close your eyes and still try to catch the ball. But don't close until I say close. So you're going to watch it like a hawk. All I care about is, can you make that ball hit your fingertips? If you can. I know that you are right on the center of the strings of your racket. Here we go. Watch it like a hawk. Here it comes. Close. The idea is he'll catch it over and over again. Why can you catch the ball? And the answer is, every person in this room has already measured speed, trajectory, and everything before the ball's even 2 feet out of my hand. Well, if you all know where the ball is going, how come you don't move? That's fascinating. People won't move. And the real reason is you don't want to be caught running the wrong way, right? That's the truth. But see, take a look look at what the pro does. Now, here's what a pro does. A pro goes to a backhand or a forehand. It's a forehand, and they go. They go with their decision. Once in a while, you see them running the wrong way. And people become furious in the stands. They go, I paid $10 for this ticket, and that toad is running the wrong way. And they get all upset about it. But see, intermediates won't do that because they confirm everything. They're not going to look stupid, man. So they go, is it a backhand or a forehand? It's a forehand. Right. And then they go like that. We're saying to you, make a decision. Other things we see intermediates do all the time. They rush to the net. They go, is it going to my backhand or to my forehand? It was to my backhand. They don't go anywhere. We're saying make a decision and go with it, because there's going to be a time in tennis, even if you run the wrong way, it's going to be valuable to you. And people always say, that's the most stupid thing I've ever heard in my life. But that's not stupid, honestly. There's a time in tennis when you're going to need to shake your opponent up, because think about it. You have maybe lost the first set 6-love. You are down 5-love, 30-love in the second set. And when you really take a little time out to think about the situation, you are not in control, right? You're down 6-love, 5-love, 30-love. You have to do mind-blowing things to shake your opponent up. Try this. It absolutely works all the time. You're down 6-love, 5-love, 30-love. They hit you a backhand, turn and run the other way, right? And when you get there, take a perfect swing, right? And watch what happens to your opponent. They go crazy. I mean, they'll stare at you for a long time. You'll be the talk of your club, honestly. And you'll win 5 games almost immediately. So be loose. You've got to try some things. All right. You've heard some of the common myths and problems. And now let's get into the forehand, because that's a big thing. Why do you have to work so hard on the forehand? And the answer is, the top players in the world have difficulty naming 10 great forehands in the history of the game. Well, people come here and say, you're wrong. My forehand is terrific. But that's usually in relation to the fact that you have no backhand. Now, we don't want to make this a relative issue. But the forehand is a pretty difficult stroke, and we'll show you. But let's first talk about why we call it a forehand. We call it a forehand because when your side is to the net, the front part, or the forepart of your hand, is facing your opponent. We call it a backhand because when you turn this way, the backside is facing your opponent. And that's a forehand and a backhand. Left-handers just make the reversal. All right, let's get to the grip. You will see. We're going to try a little thing here with a racket. We'll show you that we put some numbers on a racket for you, but we will talk to you about bevels all the time, over and over and over again. Every racket has 5 bevels from top to bottom, whether you are a left-hander or a right-hander. Number 1 on the top. Number 2, the next bevel. Number 3, the flat side. And by the way, 3 relates to the surface of the racket face. 4 near the bottom, and 5 on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. We would like you to take your hand and put the palm against number 3, because number 3 relates to the palm relates to the racket face. If the palm is vertical, so is the racket face. That means that all you have to do is learn to play with your palm. Guidance comes from the palm. And if you can beat people, I guarantee it's because you're keeping that palm going out towards your intended target. And if you're going to beat a lot of people, you're going to be famous by Friday, that's for sure. All right, now that we got the grip out of the way, I want to go to the court, and we're going to put some of these things to the test. We're going to show you how to use this grip, the racket, your clothing, and your body. Come on out with me. What do you say, baby? Okie dokie. Come on, grab some spots. Let's get on the forehand. Now, look, while you're here, remember, we want you to ignore all the other classes because we've got hundreds of people hitting the balls. What we want to do is make you famous by Friday. Let's get going. We're putting the things to the test on the forehand. One of the biggest problems on the forehand relates to the upper arm. So remember, we want you to swing with the full arm. But here's what happens to most people. Most people on the forehand get to the point of impact with the ball, and just before they impact it, they stop this upper arm. And when you stop it, the next segment goes fast. But we want you to remember, if you swing like this, you will never play a person on a side court. See, everyone is going to be out there. All right, now, very few people have a good forehand, and there are basically 3 or 4 reasons why. One is, most people have no power. They can get power because they have too long a swing. We want you to understand too long this way, but we want you to get further out away from the ball. That's the name of the game, inside out. this way. If you are normally hitting the ball here, and now you hit the ball here, you get 2 times further out, but you get 4 times the power. Watch this. I'm going to hit a ball. And if I swing in close to my body, I don't get power. But if I swing out away from my body, now I can get much more power. If I'm 3 times further out, if I normally hit here, and then I hit here, I'm 1, 2, 3 times further out, I get 9 times the power. So learn to start your swing from here, keep it on the front side of your body, and swing away from your body. But the problem is most people start to choke up a little bit. And when you get nervous, the brain starts pulling you in. It doesn't let you go out, it brings you in. And people are like this. But even to show you how much the brain really inhibits movement, your friends can be outside the fence, and they can try to help you. They say, hey, you're choking. And all you can say is, right. You can do nothing about it. So inside out, get your racket perpendicular to the back fence, swing away from your body. All right, now efficiency is a big thing in the swing. If you are efficient with your body, you don't have to swing hard to get power. I started Tracy Austin when she was just 2 years old. By the time she was 5 years old, she could hit the ball very, very hard. That's because she was efficient when she moved into the ball.
Here's Tracy at age 5. Notice how she coils her body and then unwinds in a very efficient manner. Even at age 5, she could hit the ball hard without having to slug it. Also, notice how well she keeps her own head still while her body uncoils. And when Tracy hits, she doesn't let the ball come to her. She goes to meet the ball. And here's exactly how you should do it.
You start off thinking about turning your body back. It's like a snake. Snake coils to strike. If you coil, then you've got your body ready to strike. Now, when you uncoil, that's the secret. How do you uncoil the body? Well, we call it the kinetic chain, and the chain uncoils in this manner. Let's name off the segments for you. Segment 1 is from the foot to the knee. Segment 2 is from the knee to the hip. Segment 3 is from the hip up to your head, and segment 4 is the arm and racket. But they have to go in a particular manner. They go 1, and when this knee stops, it makes the hip go faster, just like the whip. And when this hip stops, the next one goes faster. And if you'll stop this segment, the racket goes faster. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. A little rhythmical movement. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, if your feet are in contact with the ground, you'll get much more power. And the reason for that is you have stabilizers now, and that allows you to make the chain-like movement. But if your feet are not touching the ground, you can't get power because you can't unwind the segments. You'll have to keep one foot in contact with the ground. My friend, Dr. Gideon Ariel, is always saying, remember, you cannot shoot a cannon from a canoe. You see, if the cannonball goes as far in one direction as the canoe goes in the opposite. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So keep your feet on the ground, get the stabilizers, have this nice, easy rhythm. How far back should you go? I said most people go back too far this way. Well, you only want to swing about 15 feet in length when you make the swing. If you turn your body, that's about a 7-foot backswing. Now you have about 8 feet left to go to get you to the 15. But most people go back so far that they end up swinging 23 to 25 feet every time they hit a ball. They make the turn, that's 7. Now they make this mistake. They lay the racket back 4 more feet. They're now at 11. Now they need 4 coming back. That's 15. 8 to 10 forward is 23 to 25 feet every time they swing. But that gets you out of synchronization. Watch how this destroys the kinetic chain. If you do it properly, it goes like this, rhythmically. 1, 2, 3, 4. But if you lay the racket back too far, on slow motion film, it looks like this. 1, 2, 3. 4. You don't want that. And some people say, gee, I'm just uncoiling my body like crazy, but I get no power. Shorten the swing. If you lay the wrist back too far, the cure is in this elbow. If you'll take this elbow and push it up, now you notice that it brings the racket back to the front side of your body and you shorten the swing again. But most people, when you get them to raise this elbow, they say, hey, that feels funny. And it does. It feels very weird holding your elbows like this, unless you spend a lot of time at the bar. If you do that, it seems to be very natural movement. Now, also remember that if your elbow's in but your racket doesn't go back too far, there's no problem. Whatever you need to do to shorten the swing and help you hit inside out for more power, that's what you really want to do. Now again, remember that research shows there's a strong relationship between this head and this head. So you want to keep this head still while this head is swinging, because it keeps this racket going up on a very smooth plane. Now, why do people look up then? That's the question we get. It's a logical question. Then why not just leave it there like you say? The problem is the brain has already made the shot, which we've mentioned. And so people are all ready to look and see where it's going, but you haven't hit it yet. That's the problem. You have not made the swing. We want you to pretend as though you do see it, even though we know you don't see the ball. Pretend as though you do see the ball hit the strings. It'll keep the head still until your arm touches the chin. But people say to me, are you kidding me, Matt? If I left my head still until my arm touches the chin, my opponent's shot's going to hit me right in the ear. That's the feeling you get. They go crazy. But they're not going to do anything. Again, remember, there's only one ball and you have it. They can do nothing until your shot arrives. So people say, all right, I know about the power system, but what kind of a swing do I have? Do I have a loop swing, or do I go straight back? Well, with pros, you see all kinds of swings, but nearly every pro in the world has a loop swing. And we've got a little teaching aid here, and we're going to show you. I hope I can make this clear. Excuse me for turning my back to you folks, but watch this. Here's the loop we like. You get your racket back on the ready position. I've coiled my body. Now, as the racket goes down, my rear end goes down, and my foot goes out. Three things: a three-point landing, racket back, racket down, butt down, foot goes out. Now you swing up at the ball. Now, Dr. Pat Keating has shown us that you get about 11 miles per hour of racket speed on a loop when you're down here. So as Dr. Keating says, use the loop, get more power, but come back up with the ball. Now, let me show you from the front. Thank you, fellas. I appreciate it. All right, now from the front, it looks like this. You're ready? The racket goes back. Your body is coiled for power. The racket goes down, three-point landing. Your butt goes down, the foot goes out. Three things happen together. But don't stay down with the ball. We say come up with the ball. Because when you come up at the ball, your body and racket, if they're at the same angle, you will be more efficient. You get more power, and yet people have been told, stay down with the ball. We don't agree with that. Come up at the same angle. Watch this. All right, my body lifts, I get some power. So don't be afraid to lift. If you lift, you get strong thighs anyway. That's all that happens to you. And anyway, another consideration for the loop over the straight back, in my opinion, take your best shots at me. Biomechanists tell us that when you run, you need the use of your arms for efficient movement. Now, notice that the right arm goes with the left leg. The left arm goes with the right leg. And so that's what keeps your body in alignment when you run. But if you run with your racket back, your body almost always goes out of alignment. So not for everybody, but most people will tell us, I feel funny running with my racket back. Well, part of it is because you're not getting the use of the arms to go with the legs to balance your body. So don't be afraid to take this loop. Look at the advantage of the loop. The person gets there, they get the use of the arms. Now they start the swing. If you run with the racket back and you feel comfortable, that's super. But if you feel uncomfortable, that may be the reason. You've lost the use of your arms to keep your body in alignment. How important is the racket face? Well, when you're hitting the ball, the racket face is everything. It has to be vertical at impact. People say, wait a minute, I've seen Borg play. Are you kidding me? His racket looks like this. I say, well, look, don't worry about how it looks there. What you want to do is to worry about how it looks here. See, Borg looks terrible here, looks fantastic here. Now, we're saying most people look fantastic here, terrible here. Now, we know that people who swing like this will have to go out the gate and look for the ball. Now, we hope that people will learn how important it is to have the racket head vertical at impact. As a matter of fact, Dr. Keating did another study for us. We did this study. It was called the effect of turbulence upon a sphere with protruding wool particles. And here's what happened in that study. We know that a 1 degree change with the racket face in most tennis matches is 6 feet of length on the ball. So you can't move the racket around like this. 1 degree is 6 feet. And in our study, we showed if a ball is coming on a 5-foot horizontal plane traveling 30 miles an hour, you swing 17 miles an hour at that ball. That's all. And if you hit it swinging straight across, if your racket is tilted only 10 degrees, the ball goes 110 feet. The court is only 78 feet long. So, yeah, we see people play like this all the time. and they're saying, I don't have a feel today. Well, they haven't had it in their life. They haven't had any feel. You're kidding? They're lucky to be alive. So try, if you can, to keep the racket head vertical at impact. And remember, racket down here will get the racket straight up here, but the racket straight up here will have it turned under here. Now, another reason why that racket is so important is because the ball is on the strings only 4 milliseconds. That means 4 1,000ths of a second. That's all. It hits and it is gone. Now, think about this. You never feel a ball while it's on the strings. You hit the ball, it's gone. And then the feeling runs up your arm, hits your brain, and goes, ha, ha. Now, well, if it's, oh, I didn't like that, you can't do anything about it because the brain back to the hand is 200 milliseconds. So it's 20 to 70 up, 200 down, but it's only on the strings 4. So people say, well, wait a minute. I'm thinking about what you just said, Braden. If the ball's on the strings only 4 milliseconds, what the heck value is the follow-through? And the answer is, as far as guiding the ball, the follow-through has 0 value. Now think about it. Theoretically, you could go like this. And you could have the same forehand exactly. Or you could hit it and go, and it would make no difference at all, believe me. But the real reason for a follow-through is, what happens if you don't hit it here? You hit it here. Well, if you have a very good follow-through, it allows you to mistime the ball and still be terrific. That's the only reason for a follow-through. People say, wait a minute, what happens if I'm late? I don't know. I can't help you. If you're late, the follow-through has no value for you at all. If you are late, let me tell you on a swing, you are bound to come in second in a field of 2.
Connecticut General Insurance Corporation and its subsidiaries, Aetna Insurance Company and Connecticut General Life Insurance Company.
Ah, the classic. Perfect form, right? Wrong. Imagery in tennis is so big. You know, people get bad habits on their serve because this is the image they have of the perfect form, and they try their best to imitate it. You know, the model for the classic serving trophy was Les Stoffen, who teamed, by the way, with Donald Budge to win Wimbledon doubles 1934. Les Stoffen had absolutely classic form, but unfortunately, for artistic reasons, the sculptor arbitrarily put Stoffen's elbow down like this. And in that position, it was a beautiful pose, but it's done more to ruin good serves than anything else. Now, if Les Stoffen had actually served this way, he wouldn't have beaten Bertha Finkenbaum. So, let's get started replacing some of that bad imagery with some good form. You know something, we have seen it all here on the serve. We've had every imaginable serve on our courts. We've had people here unable to release the ball on the serve, the ball stuck in their hand. We had someone throw the ball over the back fence, 21 feet back and 12 feet up. We've had people get mixed up. They held the ball and threw the racket. We've seen it all. We've seen people hit themselves in the back of the head. But all we're saying to you is the serve isn't that hard. All we want you to do is have some fun. But remember, it is the first stroke hit in every point in the history of the sport, so you need a good one. And if you have a good one, it's going to do so many things for you psychologically. Believe me, you're going to have a good time. Let's start off with a serve with a power supply, the kinetic chain it's called. And the kinetic chain is the same kinetic chain that you use for the forehand and backhand. When you get ready to hit the forehand and backhand, you coil your body, and then you uncoil. The serve is the same thing. And so don't think about it being something different. The kinetic chain starts off. There are 4 segments on the forehand backhand, but on the serve there are 5. And the first one is from the foot up to the knee. Knee to the hip is 2, hip to the head is 3, the forearm is 4, and the wrist is 5. And guess what we found? That on the best players in the world, there is little or no wrist before impacting the ball on the serve. The serve is almost all forearm pronation. As a matter of fact, there's an interesting study in Canada on the national badminton champion of Canada. And with that little light racket, you would think it's all wrist in badminton. But it's all forearm pronation is the power supply.
So that may come as a surprise to you. But the kinetic chain unwinds the same way. You turn your body and then you unwind. 1, 2, 3, and then the forearm, and then if any is the wrist. And it goes in segments, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that's not the image we get. And here's where the women get a little angry with me, because sometimes they think I'm being chauvinistic. Believe me, I have nothing against women. I just want to say it the way it is. More women have trouble serving than men. And it's not their fault, because we relate serving to throwing a lot of times. But the fact is, more women have learned to throw a ball improperly than men. And the men who have learned to throw the ball improperly have the same troubles on the serve. So for a lot of people, we can't relate it to the throw, because if your throw's lousy, so is your serve. So let's go through that and understand that I love you all. There's nothing to it, no hostility at all. Here's what we're going to do on the toss. When you throw a baseball, the arm comes back and the body really unwinds, and because they've really made a big leg kick here, and they unwind 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And they go in segments, just like from the bottom, a screw going, and it goes this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And remember, the stopping motion is very important. When one segment stops, it makes the next segment go faster. When this one stops, it makes this one go faster. When this one stops, it makes the forearm go faster. So it's knowing when to stop a segment that's just as important. Now, when we go back on the serve, it's the same as throwing a ball. When the racket gets to this position, parallel to the ground, now you start your turn. And this loop business is the thing that's confused so many people, because most people have heard about scratching the back and then making a turn. But watch, you don't scratch the back and make the turn. It's the body turn that makes you scratch your back. It's just the reverse. If you'll go back when the arm is parallel to the ground, start your weight shift, and by that time the racket's going to be here. Now, watch carefully. I don't want to push this racket down and scratch the back, because that requires the use of the bicep. If the bicep pulls in, the secret to a good serve is the extensor, to extend it out. Well, if you've made a strong effort to pull it down, now you have nothing to go out. You want a spaghetti arm. Just let it go spaghetti. Now, watch carefully. I hold the racket 2 fingers. As this racket is falling, I'm already turning. I don't wait until I scratch my back. Now watch, the shoulder turn makes the loop. See? It's the shoulder turn that makes the loop. And this is where people get mixed up. Because again, so many people feel you must scratch the back and make the turn. So here's what you see. Typical tennis look. Start racket and ball in front. And this is the worst possible image you could ever get. People go down together, up together, down, scratch the back, and turn. But here's what happens. Take a look. They go, all right, scratch that back and make that turn. But you don't want to scratch the back and make the turn. What you want to do is make the turn and scratch the back. And that's the secret. So go to a fence, put a ball in the fence, back away from the fence where the ball is shoulder height. Now, when the racket gets back to here, now you start turning your body. And that's the difference. And that's the one thing people have not learned. And by the way, just for you women, the best research, I think, that's being done in this country today is being done by women on throwing a baseball. They've taken Major League Baseball pitchers and have done a very good job with it. So the women are on the way up, so you men better look out now, because they're going to start throwing that ball in at you like crazy. And by the way, the very best servers in women's tennis, most of them serve almost as fast as the men. So keep that in mind. You do not have to be a big power person to throw that thing in. You don't have to be Godzilla or muscular effort isn't going to do it. All you need to do is have perfect synchronization. All right, you know you get a shoulder turn. The shoulder turn turns like this in baseball. Now, if you'll watch a shortstop, as soon as they glove a ball, they make this shoulder turn. And so then they release the ball. They have a long throw, remember, to first base. Now, the toss. The image on the toss is very important, because the image is usually wrong. Most people feel like the toss is straight out in front. But that's not the way the toss really goes. The toss, if you'll watch the players when they're winding for this kinetic chain, the toss actually comes back like this. And what you see is not what you get. It's tragic, but in slow motion, most of the players look like this. And the toss comes up on an arc. Looks like this. Because if you're going to turn your body and you throw it up, what do? Throw the ball up and go, Shah! And then make the turn. You can't do it. So you have to make the toss and the body work at the same time, and it's on an arc. Watch these slides, and you will see the famous photographer John Zimmerman has depicted it very well. A beginner's toss straight up,
Now you see the advanced toss on an arc. How high do you throw the ball? The answer is about 17 to 27 inches out of your outstretched hand. Only this high. That's it. But that's not what you see. What you see is people line up and they go. And you can just see them go, oh, be right this time. You know? Well, you don't need that kind of toss. It's a little baby toss. And so how high do you throw the ball? About a racket's length maximum, because that's out of your outstretched hand, as high as you can reach anyway. People say, yeah, but the problem is, man, I won't have time if I only throw it that high. Wrong. A ball that you throw only 17 to 27 inches high sits in your hitting zone 3 times longer than the ball you throw high. The one you hit right at the peak of the reach sits in there longer, so you have more time with a low toss. Now, the speed of the backswing has nothing to do with the power supply. You can go back very, very slowly, like this, and still hit the heck out of that thing. But most people are going, you know, well, that's all you want is to wind the body. And we'll show you. You can swing very slowly and hit a serve very well, slowly on the backswing. And then the forward swing, you begin to pick up momentum as the shoulders unwind. But don't try to do something very quickly going back. Now, how do you hold the ball for this low toss? And the answer is any way you want to. You know, the toughest throwing position that we have seen is with the palm up. And yet that's the typical one. Nearly everybody has this look. But the fact is, many of the top players hold the palm down, side up. You can hold it any way you want. You're only going to throw it 27 inches. That's all you want, so it looks like this. Now, you're going to throw the ball to the right of your head because your shoulders are going to unwind there. And we'll go into that a little bit later, but don't throw the ball straight out. Throw it to the right. Now, if you don't use your shoulders, you're going to get in trouble because people throw it out here. They don't use their shoulders to bring the racket down the left side. Those are the people who have trouble wearing hose and the men long socks because they crack their legs on the serve. You've seen them do this. Now, you pick up secondary syndromes with that. You see people go, they're afraid to hit their legs, so they go, watch it. And then they have a funny-looking serve. Don't swing out a lousy toss. It's not necessary. People say, wait a minute, but my neighbor Helen says, I got to swing. I only get 2 lousy tosses. There's no rule like that at all in tennis. But there is a rule that play must be continuous. Now, Helen can go to an umpire and complain. She can say, hey, look, Jane started serving at 9. It's almost dark, and she has not swung yet. Now, there they may get you. But intermediate swing at anything, man, they throw a lousy toss, they go, no problem, I'll make this little adjustment and hit. But don't make any adjustments. All right, what we're going to do is go out to the court and give it a try. Okay, let's go. All sounds pretty easy, doesn't it, in the classroom? Now we're going to try it on the court. Now we get down to the real fundamentals, because this is the thing that's going to make you famous or be a toad, one or the other. All right, let's start with a grip. Remember, there are 5 bevels on every grip. If you're right-handed, go from the top to the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you're left-handed, just reverse it. And you also get 5 bevels if you're left-handed. Now, the Eastern forehand, if you remember, we put the palm on 3, which is exactly the same as the face of this racket. And for the Eastern backhand grip, we put the palm up on top on number 1. Now, people say, which one do I hold? 1 or 3? And the answer is neither. You actually hold the palm on 2. That's halfway between the Eastern forehand and Eastern backhand grip. That is called the Continental Grip. But we always get somebody who says, wait a minute, I've been around a little bit, baby. The Continental does not work. Well, we say, why not? They say, because all the balls go off to the left. Well, let me tell you why that is. Remember in the classroom we told you that if you really turn these shoulders in order to make this loop, the racket actually goes way off to the right and then turns inside out like this. That forearm really twists. Well, if you hold a Continental Grip and you do not use the shoulders, the forearm doesn't twist. And as a result, it comes up like a knife. And so you see people hold the Continental Grip, they don't get the shoulder rotation, and they go like this. And they say, wait a minute, this is a stupid game, man. I am going to chess. But you don't want to hit a Continental Grip with no shoulders. What you want is a Continental Grip with shoulder movement. Now, some people say, well, that's strange. I hold a pretty good serving grip, I think, but all my balls go to the right. Well, the serving grip they probably have is the Eastern forehand grip. Because watch, if I put an Eastern forehand grip and now I turn my shoulders, it actually turns the racket
to the right. And now all the balls go off to the right side. And you see people do this. Well, obviously, you're going to be coming in second in a field of two an awful lot if that's the way you serve. So we don't want you to serve that way. What we want you to do is to use the Continental Grip, but have the shoulder rotation. I'm going to tell you 3 lies on the serve. But remember, they're lies. But why we tell you these lies, it isn't what you do, it's the feeling you seek. And sometimes these lies help you get the feeling. For instance, we tell you on a flat serve, try to get the feeling the racket's going straight through the ball. But that doesn't jive with what I said on a good serve. The shoulders rotate, the racket actually turns like this, the palm goes inside out. But if you try this, going straight through, you actually get a good flat serve while you're doing this. Now, for topspin, remember you achieve topspin by going low to high? Well, on a topspin serve, it's exactly the same thing. You're going low to high. But we tell you a lie. Try when you're serving a topspin ball to make the racket go up and over your hand. As a matter of fact, if you took a ring finger and roll the racket up and right over the ring finger, now this is a lie, but if you try this, what really happens is you get this. And you get the good topspin. So try this. You know from an earlier show that if you get the racket over the ball, you are guaranteed to hit yourself in the foot. So you're not going to be able to do that. So try, though. Try this, and it works. Now, for slice, to make the ball curve like this, you try to peel the orange, we say. Try to get the racket around the outside of the ball. But what really happens when you try this is your racket hits the outside, and you slice. Now, I'm going to show you an example of all the serves. I'll hit flat first, straight through. Now I'm going to hit topspin. And now I see the racket makes the ball go over and down. Now, if I'm going to curve the ball, I have to try to peel the orange, and I'm going to get this look. And that makes the ball curve off to the left. So those are the 3 lies, and you'll get exactly what you want. But it sounds weird. There's so many weird things on the serve. When we do a lot of high-speed filming on the pros, they're often shocked at what they see, how that arm contorts and how the body works for them. And I want you to take a look at some of these famous pros as they serve the ball. Watch Eli Nastasi. His left arm is going up ahead of his right arm. We suggest they both go up together. If the left arm goes up first, then the ball will have to be thrown higher than the intended point of impact with the ball. But notice now, as the racket gets at the peak, his body begins his turn. Watch the left arm, the throwing hand. It'll cross his body, the body turns first, and then the left arm stops, and that snaps the forearm. Again, notice the left arm coming across his body. Let's take a look at the top view of Eli Nastasi as he serves. Notice the throwing arm is coming up nearly parallel to the line. And as you'll see, the ball is being thrown far to the right side of Eli's head. Now, he keeps his eye up, but you'll find an interesting thing about Eli Nastasi. He drops his head and his eyes just before making impact with the ball. His shoulder's already starting to turn. Now, look at the pronation on that right arm, the way that elbow turns way out. Watch Arthur Ashe as he stands. No big deal, no big ball bouncing thing. Nice, easy, relaxed. Arm comes back, the right arm. The racket faces down. Notice the left arm is way off to the right side of his head. That allows him to turn his body. Now, watch carefully. The body's beginning to turn, and his eyes stay up. Now, his left hand is now pointing at the ball. Now, when the racket's up high, his body is beginning to move. Remember, it's the body turn that makes the loop behind the back. Don't make the loop and then turn the body. Now the racket goes up at the ball. The left arm stops. That makes the forearm snap, and then the racket comes down first to the right and then to the left side of the body. Let's take a look at the side view of Roscoe Tanner. Notice Roscoe takes the right arm and the hitting arm up at the same time. Watch his eyes. They're glued on the ball. Notice the ball stops right at the peak of his reach. That gives Roscoe Tanner more time to hit the ball. Look at his right arm. It crosses his body. That forces the left forearm to snap through the ball. Remember, we're not talking wrist. We're talking more forearm snap. Chris Evert has a conventional service toss, but she gets more body into her serve than most people think. Now, she starts out together, but you'll notice that the left hand gets ahead of her right hand. Chris will throw the ball higher in the air with her left arm in order to give her right arm an opportunity
to catch up. Here goes the left arm up. The palm is up. Now look at Chris. Her eyes are glued on the spot to which she wants that ball to go. But she'll have to throw it higher because you see the racket is just on its way up now. Now at this point's where Chrissy gets most of her shoulder rotation. Watch her turn now. More body right here. Now she has a little late turn, but she starts to get it. There the body begins its turn. Now she unwinds. Watch her left arm. She's unwinding in order to make the racket whip behind her back. Her left arm will cross her body. That will stop the left shoulder. The forearm will snap, and her eyes are still up. And the racket down the left side of her body.
All right, you've seen the pros do it, and now it doesn't look so strange maybe. But you see strange things all the time, even when it's not some slow motion film. For instance, John McEnroe on the stance. He stands like this. And now people are watching him all the time on television. They say, boy, that guy is so great, man. I want to serve just like him. And so they start off with this crazy stance. Now, you want to remember why McEnroe has the stance. He has the stance because he told me a couple of years ago that he had a bad back when he was first coming up in the ranks. And he wanted to get rid of this bad back, and so he started stretching way, way down like this. And when he stretched, he got rid of his back problems. But now, it has nothing to do with the serve, but now all over the world, people are trying to stand like McEnroe, and they're developing bad backs. See, so what we're saying to you is don't have to go through all of that. And all the ball bouncing stuff, that's not necessary. You don't need this thing, because we see people have great ball bounces, no serves. Now, also, there's a fact about rudeness to the receiver. Your opponent has the right to expect that when you walk up the line, sooner or later, you're going to serve. But if you're there 15 minutes later going like this, they could have read a chapter in the book. See, so you want to keep play continuous because that's in the rule. All right, now you're going to have a nice, easy stance, no big deal, no big ball bouncing, and now your left foot will point out towards the right net post, your back foot will be parallel to the ground, and all you want to do is be comfortable so you can make this body rotate in a kinetic chain like this. Now, don't come up with a big first serve and then take that little helium ball on the second. That's not necessary at all, but that's what most people do. They hit the first one hard because they remember the one that went in the tornado in 38. But then they get rid of that and they go, now we can start. And they give you that little baby ball. But I don't think that's what you really want. What you really want is to understand ball rotation, because when you hit a ball hard, if it goes long, now if I hit it hard, the second one has to actually be traveling faster, because if the racket head is traveling faster, going low to high, you increase this top spin, which makes it come down. So now I hit that first one 20 feet long. Now I'm going to try to spin it even more. And you see how the ball comes over and down? So the racket actually travels faster. But you can only do that if you have a good knowledge of spin and ball rotation. If you don't, you're going to have to use gravity. Now, what about your chin? The chin stays up. When you serve the ball, your chin has to go like this. And keep it up there and hit this way. Don't look out. You haven't hit it yet. Why? I'm going to put my chin up and watch how it stays there. Now, what that does is help you stop this shoulder. And when this chin stays up, this left shoulder stops, the forearm absolutely snaps faster. As a matter of fact, I hope that it was very clear to you that when you saw those pros serving, you saw how that ball comes off on the right side, which stops the shoulder. Now watch, I'll demonstrate that for you. Ball on the right, shoulder stops. Now people say, I want to get rid of that. But get rid of that, you get rid of this, and it goes like this. And then you get rid of your power, too. Then your serve will take 2 days to arrive, and you're going to have some problems. All right? Gonzalez is the guy who really had the best serve I've ever seen in my life. So easy and relaxed when he serves. He's like this, nice, easy movement. He didn't walk up the line and have 55 crazy bounces, stand like this, because he knew something, that the speed of the backswing had nothing to do with the power supply. Watch. I can go 2 miles an hour and serve. So you can hit the ball really hard, going back very, very slowly, so you don't have to rush anything. And Gonzalez did that so well. Very rhythmical. What he would do is just imagine that baseball pitcher throwing with the rhythm, and he would come out, and you'd always see him just line up and go, 1, just a little rhythm play, 2. Now remember, you're not going to throw the ball very high, and Gonzalez didn't throw it high. As a matter of fact, he was so good, he only planned on serving 1 ball, believe me. He was so good. He walked the line. He never thought 2. But most people walk the line, they get the first one out of the way to serve the second. That's a lousy thing. As a matter of fact, let me tell you how that worked in his favor. big famous pro tournament in Cleveland once, and Pancho Gonzalez was in the tournament. He won it every year, the National Pro Championships, and he would say, hey, this is nothing, man. But the guys were getting pretty smart. They said, here's what we got to do. We got to knock Gorgo out of the box. The only way we can beat that guy is to not let him have 2 serves. Let's only have a 1-ball serve tournament. And so the management worked it out so that you'd only get 1 serve in this tournament. That means Gonzalez would have to serve more slowly, and the people would knock him out of the box because they thought they could beat him if they could return his serve. Well, he won the tournament faster than he'd ever won it before because, as I said earlier, he only planned on serving 1 anyway. But guess who it affected? The rule affected the people who got the rule into the tournament. People said, oh, geez, I've only got 1. and they were so nervous that Gonzalez won the tournament so fast that it was just unbelievable. So don't plan on serving 2. That's why some people actually put a ball in their pocket, so they only will hold 1. Think of 1. When you walk to the line, it's not a serve to waste. All right, you want to relax, and we want you to learn to relax by exhaling. Give it this. When you exhale, biofeedback studies have shown that if you exhale, you really relax. But most people inhale, and that's the problem. They walk to the line because they imagine that the serve always starts out here. And then they inhale. But think about it. If you inhale and you're not taking a breath, if a guy has a long rally, they're going to kill you on the thing. No, so people go for us. They do it to make us feel good. They go, and then it's down, up, down, up. Well, you don't want that. Exhale, relax, and just lay into that baby. Nice and easy. Now, we want you to remember, you don't have to throw the ball high. We hear this so many times. I have been told to throw the ball high to give myself more time to hit. So people go, but you see, they have no chain. There's no body that's unwinding on that shot. So you don't want to throw a high ball and then go through all of that and then just hit with the arm. I think you'd be much better off just to throw a low ball, 6 inches out of your hand. Watch. Why go through all that junk? Let this arm go spaghetti, throw it 6 inches out of your hand, but to go through this, nothing happens. Now, you're not going to always be able to play defensive tennis. You're going to have to serve and go to that net. Now, let me show you how you're going to do that. You get ready to serve. You keep your chin up. You snap that forearm at the ball. Now, wrist will snap too, sometimes just before, sometimes just after impact. Your left shoulder has stopped. But at this point, the left shoulder starts coming back, and now you're on your way in. So it goes like this. If you're right-handed, fall in on the right foot. Now, go left foot, right foot, together. The feet come together on your 3rd step because your opponent will probably have the ball on his or her strings on your 3rd step. So you bring your feet together on the 3rd. Now, whichever way they're going to hit the ball, you're free and you're equally balanced to go in either direction. Right? So that's the problem with most people. They don't stop. They just serve and go. They say, man, you said to get in there, so I'm going. And they go. Now if somebody hits an angle and all they do is go, terrific shot. You can't turn the corner. So we want you to get yourself in the frame of mind. You're going to stop, see where they're hitting the ball, and then you go in. Now, here's how it'll look. I'll hit the ball.
For the 4-cylinder Omega, $59.90.
Volley, half volley. You're the biggies. Now, we're going to see you there in just a half a second on the court. See you
Great.
then.
Thanks.
All right. You believe that, Toad? All right. A volley is any ball you hit in the air before it touches the ground. Here's a little drill we're using to help you work on your volley. Come on in. Very good. As you can see, some of the volleys are really terrific, and some of them ain't too hot. Okay, that's it. Come on up to the net. Yeah. You were terrific. Look, first of all, I want you to understand that a volley generates a real basic emotion. Fear. Now, it's very important that you try to get rid of some of these fears, but it's a real fear, and you're going to have to deal with it. We know that the closer you get to the net sometimes, the greater is the fear. And we even have photographs of people here like this, but as they get closer, it goes. So it's a little tough. We even had one lady at our tennis college. We loved her, but she would run to the net, and she would freeze, and it was just panicky, but she could talk. She would just stand there and go, the ball is going to hit me. And it would. I mean, they bounced balls off of her bod the whole week she was here. And we say, hey, wait a minute. Why go up there? Why don't you just back up a little? And she said, when I back up, I just get hit further back. So we said, well, then, why do you go to the net? And she goes, because I love to attack. We couldn't believe it.
you're going to have a good volley, whether you like it or not. And if you have a good volley, it's going to help you overcome fears. So why not develop a good one? Now, the problem that we find is people run to the net, and then they think they're going to get into one position and stay there for all time. You see them go, made it. And boy, they're not going to move at all. The idea is you're not going to land with glue on your feet here. This is like a bus station, and you're only going to start from this position. When you see your opponent drives the ball, you're going to go forward. If you see they're going to lob, you're going to go backward. But when people who land like this and become glue pods, they go, is it going to my backhand or to my forehand? Terrific shot. See, you don't go anyway, but you've got to make up your mind, and you're going to end up having to run one way or the other. Remember, when you're going to the net, you're going up there for a purpose. The purpose is to end the point. You're not in the middle of a point. You're trying desperately to end it. So you're, in your mind, you should be getting up there to end the point. Put it away. Now remember, if you are close to the net, you don't need much talent. Matter of fact, if you're on top of the net, you could volley with your earlobe. But you see, if you're further back, you need more talent. Now you have to really take that baby and push it out there hard. If you volley from about halfway between the net and the service line, that's 10.5 feet back. Now you're going to have to hit at about a 30-degree angle to keep it inside the sidelines. In other words, if I get the hit here, I hit it there or there. I can only change my stroke 30 degrees or the ball is going out. But if I could get 2 steps forward, now how do I know I'm going to be going forward? If my opponent's going to drive, there's no reason for me to stay back there. Now, if they're going to drive the ball, I run on top of the net. But guess what? I get 100 more degrees. I now have 130 degrees where I can volley. And now that really pushes people fence to fence. But people say, hey, you just demonstrate a little thing like this, like you're going to volley out. But you don't have to volley out up here. If you get on top of the net, geez, I tell you, you can be a toad in volley. You go doink, doink, doink. All right, let's break down the volley stroke. Lower ace around, would you bring the balls over, please? Starting off, you've got to have this racket face pointed right out towards your target. Don't get yourself in a position where that racket is so late that it's not pointing towards your target, because wherever the target is, if they hit it like that, that's going over the fence. You got to have it pointed exactly where you want it. Well, how do you get it pointed exactly where you want it? And the reason that you want to put these elbows into play is because the elbow is the secret to having your racket pointed towards the target. Look, if my elbow is in, the racket's not pointed towards the target. But if my elbow is up, now it's pointed towards the target. That's the name of the game. Nothing complex, elbows up. And remember, we told you this is kind of an awkward feeling sometimes. Sometimes your back gets a little tired. But those elbows up get you ready for the hit. Let's go into the grip. We told you that on the forehand ground stroke, the regular forehand, we like you to play with the palm. We want you to do the same thing on the volley. If this palm is on the back side of the racket, it matches this racket face. On the backhand, if the racket is placed in this manner, the palm up on top, now you have a regular backhand ground stroke. The grip in between those two is called the Continental. But I prefer the Eastern forehand and Eastern backhand. Now, when you go to volley with the forehand, your racket is pointed in exactly the same place as is your palm. On the backhand side, you keep going with the knuckles towards your intended target. Now, people say, wait a minute, man. I know that when you're up at the net, there's not sufficient time to change grips. Wrong. Remember we told you that you can change grips faster than you can take a single step? Well, you're going to be able to get a single step when you volley. Because if you can't get one step when you volley, you have to go to chess. So you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to get the fuzz sandwich for sure. Now watch. Practice putting your palm down, an eighth turn this way. Each palm goes down. And if you see that you take each palm down an eighth, you add that up, that's 2/8, that's a quarter. And that's all this is, 1/4 turn. Now watch, palms down. Now I go slowly, 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 and I've got it. Now I'll try to move my foot with it. So I go, ha! See if you can move your foot faster than you can change your grip. Now watch, ha! Ha! Well, you can't. So now when you're going to volley, you go, ha, ha, and you got it. You don't have, just palms out. That's the name of the game. But when people say, wait a minute, I prefer the Continental Grip. And that's halfway between the forehand and backhand. And the reason is the Continental, I can hold one grip for all strokes. My feeling about the Continental Grip is it's going to create some problems for you. Now, take your best shots at me. Some people don't like me for saying this. But when you hold a Continental Grip and you reach out for the volley, the racket is pointed towards the left side. If you say, wait a minute, then you just have to point it the other way. That's the problem. If you have a double jointed elbow where it comes up like this, we find you can do it. Now, people who hold a Continental who can volley well into that corner actually hit it off the backside. And there's some very good players. Kenny Roosevelt, for example, fantastic on the Continental. And that's the argument I get from a lot of pros. They say, yes, but half of the pros use Continental. Jack Kramer's argument was, that was nice. I knew automatically I could beat half of the players. He thinks the Continental has done more than any other single factor to destroy good strokes. But the argument wages on. But just remember, for my purposes, don't get mad at me. We only care about how the racket face meets the ball. If you want to play this way, that's okay. I'm telling you, if you're good this way, you'll be more in demand than bored. Really. So don't worry about that. All right, a good volley requires that three things be on the same level. Racket head, the ball, and your eyes. And if you want to volley well, always have those three things on the same level. The elbow is out, the ball is here, racket's here, your eyes should be here. Ball here, racket here, your eyes here. That means you have to have strong thighs. Now be very careful, because when you're going into the training table, if you get too fat, you can't bend down. Your stomach gets in the way. If you like those low-cal donuts like me, you could get up to 200 in the right thigh. So you've got to be able to get yourself down. So stay in shape. Now, don't come in and volley close to the body. When you come in to volley, you want to be away from the body, further away. But most people like to come in, and that's when, you know, if you do it wrong, you're going to be in trouble. For instance, we see people come like this, but their ball's coming close, and that fear takes over again. And they go, remember now, when you're moving, you want to move into the ball on your volley, but we see people go, what did he say? And now, all right, move into the ball and keep that racket head up. All right, finish high on your follow-through. The racket head finishes high. Don't let it finish down. Again, remember, a down hit is catastrophic. Just 2 or 3 degree down hit is bad. But why so much concern about keeping it high? The real big concern for keeping the racket high is you're now ready for the next volley. And when you hit it like this, you're ready. Now let's take a look at what the stroke looks like. From this side, it looks like a little bow, that's all. Or you can actually come across a tabletop. But we like you to run through your volley, because when you run through the volley, especially if you're at mid-court, now you can keep the racket smooth. But most people come in and stop to volley, and it's just like a car where you put on the brakes, the back end goes up and the front end goes down, and here's what you see people do. They go. See? You want to try to keep that racket head up and go across the tabletop if you possibly can. All right, now remember, when you're going back for the volley, it's a short shoulder turn, not a racket laid back. Keep your elbows in front and turn the shoulder. Very short punch, but don't freeze the shoulder and snap the arm. If you are playing this game, you must remember the ball's on the strings only 4 milliseconds, 4 1,000ths of a second. And again, that's not much time. It's gone, and you can't even see the ball hit your strings. Then people say, well, but you told me to follow out this far. You don't have to follow that far. Look at McEnroe. As great as he is, he comes to the net, and he goes, ting, that's all. Think about it. For this, he makes 100 thou a week. All right, this time I got to get over on the other side of the net, because I want you to see this shot in exactly the same way as you'll be hitting it, because this one relates to the left arm on the backhand side. You ready? Most of the problems on the backhand, in my opinion, come from the left arm. Most people put the left arm on and then pull it back and snap it. But remember, 1 degree is 6 feet of length. 1 degree, 6 feet of length. That means people who play like this, if they're late, they're lucky to keep it in the state. Right? So you're going to pull the elbow up and do this. Now the knuckles represent your target area. If you're going to keep the knuckle towards that target, you got it. It's got to go there. This side. This side. But the knuckles are the name of the game. So the left elbow up, and don't pull it back. And if you're going to make the turn, don't pull the racket back with the left elbow. What we want you to do is simply turn the shoulder back and make this movement. And remember the stroking style. It goes out and up. It does not come down, but that's the typical movement. All right, I got to get back to the other side, because now we're going to talk about forward movement. And I want you to see what it looks like when I'm moving into you, because it's really big. When you are running, and this is true of good race horses and all kinds of activity, if you are running forward and your head is staying very smooth, you're very efficient. Most people run with their head wavering. So we would like you to learn to volley on the run, because if your head stays still, this one stays smooth. But again, when you try to stop, this head falls, racket head falls. Forward movement is your power supply. Now, it's very important to remember that if a ball is coming right at your face, you can get out of the way of that ball faster, actually moving forward and off at a diagonal. You can take 2 steps forward for every one that you could take backwards. So you're much faster getting out of the way of the ball going into it. Most people back up and then dig the ball out of their navel. You see, you don't want to do that. So go forward this way. Put the racket where your face is and then move out of the way. But again, remember, don't get confused because many people do this. They forget, they step forward and move the racket out of the way. And that's when you get the flush sandwich. All right? Now, you're always going to try to move into the ball. Remember, the closer you are to the net, the less talent you need, the wider is the angle. And if your opponent is going to hit a lob, you turn and run back. Now, 3 steps only. But people say, wait, I can't tell whether they're going to drive or lob. You ought to go scout people and see how they look. If you're at the net, here's what you see when people are going to lob. They go, well, when they're like this, they ain't going to drive, right? So if they go like this, you go back. If the racket's here, you come forward. So people say, what happens if they're like this? And then I back up, and the guy goes, ha-ha, tricked you, and then throws a drive. See? But most people can't even hit 1 stroke, you know, much less 2, so don't worry about it. Now, you need to get a fast first step when you're at the net. We know that you know where the ball's going, but people, remember from our first session, people have a tendency to confirm their decision. Don't confirm. The first decision you make at the net is the best one. So if you think it's a forehand, take off and go. And if you're running the wrong way, you still confuse your opponent anyway. They don't know what you're doing out there. So I said, they'll stare at you for a long time. But think about it this way. Say you were playing Borg, Chrissy Everett, or one of those players. Now you're at the net, and you're stuck. They have a very easy shot. If you will run one way or the other, just as they're hitting the ball, you have a 50-50 chance. But if you stand in the middle, you get passed on both sides. So run one way or the other. What difference does it make? You say, I don't want to look bad. Well, this other way, you're guaranteed to look bad. See, the other way, you have a 50-50 chance of looking good. Sandy Merrick Pop told me an interesting thing. Sandy Merrick is a very fine player. His brother Gene, terrific player. Father, a terrific coach. He said, hey, look, I don't care which way you go, Sandy and Gene, but you must go one way. Now, if you'll get in a habit of going one way or the other, then your guesses become more and more educated guesses. But it's that fear and that inhibits movement. And when you're afraid to look bad, that's when you're going to be in trouble. So don't be afraid to look bad. Take off and go. And it's going to absolutely shock you. Well, now, why are some people so late starting again? Again, because they have to confirm the decision. One other reason is that many people haven't gone out and scouted. But here's why some players can move so quickly. And that is the pros have gone out and played these people a million times. They've gone out and charted them. They've tried to analyze their movement. For example, we have a new camera. The camera is called an iMark recorder. All of a sudden now, instead of people telling us what we can see, the new camera actually shows us what they see. There's a light that reflects into the pupil. The pupil goes right onto the film. There's a fiber optic that comes down the back. And now, whatever they're looking at is being filmed through the camera that's on their back. And also, exactly where their pupil's looking. If you were looking at me right now, you see a dot on my forehead, chin, and that dot's going all over the place. I know where you're looking when I get the film back. Now we put it on some of these best players. I was very, very interested. Where are these players looking, especially the ones that can get all the way over 3 steps on the volley, all the way to the sideline, because those guys amaze me. You know, when you play them, you hit the best passing shot you've ever hit in your life, and they're there like it's nothing. So what's their cue? Are they looking at a hip or a knee? What's the giveaway sign on their opponent that allows them to get there so quickly? Guess what? One of the fastest guys on the volley was looking in the trees. Wasn't even looking at the opponent. So when we did a little research, we found out. We said, why were you able to break so fast and get 3 steps over and make it look so easy? They said, look, I've played this guy 1,000 times. Every time I hit it deep to the backhand and they have this leg crossed, they always go down the line. See, they went with statistical cues, not visual cues. You know, you got to get to the net. Well, how do you get to the net? Well, there are only 2 ways. One is when you're playing backcourt, your opponent's backcourt, and they just rally back and forth. All of a sudden, they hit you a short ball. Now, when they hit you a short ball, that's your opportunity. You come in, you approach the net. That's called the approach shot. You hit it deep to the backhand corner, you come up to the net. Now you're ready to volley.
The only other time you can get to the net is if you serve and you're going to attack. You're not going to let that toad stay back there and rally. You're going in, man. So now you follow your serve into the net, and you're ready to the volley, their service return. Now, if you are going to come into the net sometimes, everyone isn't going to hit the nice, easy volley for you. Sometimes they're going to hit it down at your feet. So you're running in, and they hit it at your feet. Now, what do? You can't say, play two. I don't take anything below my knees. You can't do that. And most people come in and just scoop. See, people don't really work on this shot. That little scooper at your feet, that's called the half volley. Now, it's not really a big volley, and it's not really a ground stroke, but it's a scooper, as in baseball, a little pickup in baseball. Well, there's a way to hit that, too. But I'll tell you what's good news for you. The way you're going to hit it is the same way that you will hit a regular forehand and a regular backhand. But you just have to start from a lower position. So when you're running in, all of the things that we told you about the forehand and backhand stay the same. For example, the racket head stays vertical. I'm coming in, so my racket head is vertical. It's not coming in and scooping like this. I'm going to go low to high. My head stays still. Even though I'm running in on the half volley, I try to keep my head still. Most people come in and go, no, well, because they're so startled. Keep your head still, keep your eyes down. Now, here's what's interesting, the way you run in. Most people come in and then face the net. That places the racket in a scooping position. You should come in making the back foot move in front of the left foot. Watch, left, now right in front, left, right in front. But see, people come in and they do this all the time. You see them go, and then they fall. So don't get the wrong foot coming behind. The back foot always comes in front. And you'll see that if your thighs are strong, you can get in there, down, lift, keep your head still, and come up. And you can literally bring your half volley right under your chin, just as though you were hitting a regular forehand ground stroke. So don't treat them differently. Now, where do you hit the ball? When you hit on the forehand side, on the half volley, you hit even with the front side. If you look at this, I'm hitting even with my leg here. But on the backhand side, you must hit further out in front of you. Remember, on the backhand, the shoulder housing the hitting arm is on the front. So you must hit further in front. So on the volley, you hit further in front of you on the backhand. On the ground stroke, you hit further in front of you on the backhand. On the half volley, you hit further in front of you. But see, most people come in and hit late, just like they do on the forehand, even with the front side. Now they're dead. So always try to get the ball further out in front. Remember, on the half volley, especially on the backhand side, you need strong extensor muscles, because when you have these strong muscles, you can keep the head solid. But most people come in and let the wrist fall. Now, if the wrist falls after the hit, it's not too deadly. But if the wrist starts to fall before the hit, and that's what happens. People come in and let it fall. The ball hits and just falls right down your thigh. Now, you want to remember that you're on the move when you make this shot. But you know, some people don't realize there are two types of half volleys. The two types of half volleys relate to singles and doubles. When you're playing singles and you're coming to the net, you want to keep your opponent way, way back there. And so when you come in and hit, you bring the arm under the chin like this. But when you're playing doubles, your opponent's very often at the net. You see where you're standing right now? I don't want you to get a nice high shot, because if I lift the ball at my feet and you're standing there and you come in and hit it, I'm going to get the early lunch, man. So I don't want to hit it up there high. Now, in that case, I will hit a doubles half volley where I don't come under my chin. I'll come in and play the racket almost straight up. Watch how this ball falls. Oh, that one fell too fast. But you notice when I come in and lift up straight, the ball goes over and down quickly. Now you come in to lift, I come in and give you the new look. See? That's important. So in singles, I'm going to hit the ball, drive it deep, keep you back there. And that comes out with a nice level swing. But in doubles, I'm going to come up almost straight. And that will take the speed off the half volley, make you lift it, and I can come in and kill it then. So learn a different one for singles, a different one for doubles. But still, you lift your body the same way. Now, I want to review some points on volleys and half volleys. On volleys, remember, keep your elbows out, racket head up. Don't let the racket fall down. Learn to let the racket stay up. Think about a tabletop. Remember that no one here is strong enough to stand way back there and hit straight through on a volley, because gravity picks up the ball so quickly. If you're going to make an error on the volley, make sure it's long.
you don't want to come in and hit too short unless you're right on top of the net. So when you're warming up, come in and hit your volley over the baseline, long for a while, so that you get this feeling. And you'll see the tendency always is to get this look. And it's tragic, because you come to the net and do this, and if it does go over, now they come in and wail on it, you get the fuzz sandwich, and you just can't stand it. You don't want to play them anymore. So keep the racket head up, go across the tabletop. When you volley, come in, keep your head still. Watch my head. Don't try to stop and volley unless you're right on top of the net. This is different than many people think they should hit the volley. Most people have been taught stop and volley, but our research shows that the racket has a tendency to go down. Racket up across the tabletop. Remember, on the volley, you have to switch grips quickly because you don't have much time, but you have sufficient time. But you have to practice. Put this palm down, and you'll see that it puts the racket on top right away. Right away. Now try the little drill. Try to move your foot like this as quickly as you can and see if your hand beats your foot or your foot beats your hand. And you'll see that the palm gets up on top of there very, very quickly. You'll have time to do all of this stuff, but you have to practice it. Now, when you're coming into the net, remember, you land, but don't land and plant yourself there for all time. When you come in, it's like a bus station. You stop, you raise the heels, you get ready to go. Your mind is thinking forward, forward. And just make sure you believe you're going to get out there and put the volley away, because you're not in the middle of a point. You're trying now with one volley to close it out. So if they're going to drive the ball, you step forward. If they're going to lob, you go back. And remember your cues. When they're like this, they ain't going to drive, right? So you're going to turn and go back. But when they're like this, you're coming in, because they can't go and then lob it. So you're going to be home free. Don't be afraid to attack a ball that's coming right at your face. Because if you can get out of a ball, out of the way of a ball very quickly, moving forward. Most people move backwards. Keep your wrist very, very firm. Don't let this wrist flop. But you'll have to build up those muscles. Put a racket cover on it. Try to get the racket cover so it's heavy enough. Put one ball in it if you have to. That'll build up those muscles. But don't do this. The racket head is vertical on the volley when you hit. It does not chip. It does this. People think they do this, but they don't really. I want to show you. You have plenty of time. Mike Dale, one of our coaches, get out there. Let's just hit for a minute. Now watch this, baby. See if Fat Albert can keep that ball in play. Oh, I didn't switch. I lost.
Vic Braden's Tennis for the Future is made possible by a grant from Connecticut General Insurance Corporation and its subsidiaries, Aetna Insurance Company and Connecticut General Life Insurance Company.
You know, when you can control ball rotation, you can make that ball do some very funny things. For example, you can make short people jump high, and you can make those tall people bend down low. And you can make those slow people run way out of court. And that is fun. Watch this.
Look what happens to this guy. He needs a ladder to get to the doggone ball when you topspin that ball with a high bounce. Look, when you're playing those toads with stiff knees, they hate to bend. So make them bend. Use underspin, the ball will stay low. They may get down okay, but they don't get back up again. Now, the instant you see that your opponent has a slow first step, then slice the ball wide, because that ball will get away from them. They'll have to call a cab to get to that doggone ball.
Well, you saw the effects of spin, and if you use it right, you can really control that opponent, and it's a heck of a lot of fun. But people say to me, wait a minute, man, I can't control spin. That's too complicated for me. It isn't. You all can understand spin. It is so doggone simple. But people say, look, I'm not that smart. You are that smart. Watch, I'm going to show you all about it, and I think that I'm going to make it clear. Penny, you hold that. Let me take this ball. Now, watch carefully. Top spin. No big deal. People say, yeah, but Borg, look at all those crazy moves he puts on it. I can't even see what he's doing. You will. To get topspin, you simply have to think about a racket that's going low to high and striking the back side of the ball. That's all there is. So when I go low to high, I strike the back side of the ball, and now all of a sudden the ball is spinning. And if you see this arrow, the arrow is going towards you, which means forward spin. And when you get a ball that's going with forward spin, when that arrow is going this way, the air pockets put pressure up here, and as it's rising, the air pockets hit it and then force it over and down. And as a result, you get a rainbow effect. So Borg gets the ball up over the net and then down. That's really nice. But when you get backspin, that's the reverse, or underspin it's called. When I go low to high to get topspin, I want underspin, I go high to low, just the reverse. And now, instead of the arrow going this way, the arrow goes the opposite direction. It comes back. Now the air pockets are placed on the bottom. And when the air pockets are placed on the bottom, it forces the ball to have a planing effect. It doesn't want to go down. It wants to keep right on going. Well, when the ball keeps on going, now it sails. That's underspin. Now there's a third, side spin. I hit the ball on the side this way, and for instance on serves or side spin like this, I make the ball rotate on a horizontal. Now here's what I get with side spin. I get a curve. You know, baseball pitchers, they want to make that batter really sweat it out. So they throw the ball, they make the ball rotate on a horizontal, and the ball goes like this and makes it awfully tough on the batter. Now on the serve, you can hit a ball up 45-degree angle like this, and you strike the ball, and it makes the ball do this. It makes it go 45-degree angle. And that gets also a curve like the baseball pitcher, but it gets a curve and a little bit of a drop. So it's a semi. It's kind of halfway between the big Borg topspin and the underspin and the side spin. It's this way. All right, so you know about all the spins. There are 4 kinds. Now, Penny, if I can get that racket and ball back. Thank you, Len. There are so many myths about spin. Now, with topspin, people say, hey, I can make that ball really jump because it stays so much higher than when I hit with underspin, because underspin hits and skids. Wrong. When you hit a ball that goes like this, and if you could hit a ball that went like this with underspin and a ball that went like this with topspin and flat, the ball that bounces the highest is underspin. That is, if all the trajectories are the same. Topspin actually bounces lower than underspin on the initial bounce coming off the court. But the ball that bounces the lowest of them all is flat, the ball that has little spin. But people say, wait a minute, Braden, don't kid me. I've been in this game a long time. I've seen people underspin and make me bend way down for the shot. But that's because when they hit it, they went high to low. The trajectory was low. In other words, the incoming plane was low. When the ball skids, it's because this incoming plane is low, but it's not because of the spin. Underspin actually has a little higher bounce. Now, players add spin to a ball. That is a myth. What we have actually found that most players actually take spin off the ball. And people say, wrong, I watched Borg put it on. But we found that even with Borg, when the ball bounces, it hits the court, it comes off the court so doggone fast that when you go low to high, it's coming off this way, the court, and when you hit it, it goes back with not as much spin. Most people can never put as much spin on the ball as the court put on it. So usually people put less spin on the ball. They take it off. Now, misconception. People say topspin is so doggone tough, underspin is easy. We have found in calculating the number of variables in determining spin that it takes almost 5 times the number of variables to be controlled to hit underspin than it does topspin. Topspin is a little easier to hit as far as controlling variables, and boy, Borg has certainly proved that.
Now here's Bjorn Borg in a match at Lacoste against Tommy Gorman. As you can see, it's 2-3 in a tiebreaker. Boy, Gorman could really use this point. Now you see what happens? Gorman gets in. That's a smart play. But the problem is when somebody can hit with topspin and go over the net in short angles, that makes it so tough on the net player. They have to guess. Tommy Gorman has guessed. He guessed wrong.
Now, if you use your body properly and use your legs, you'll help get that lift going up, and that'll give you a lot of power. But people say, wait a minute, Vic, I don't want to get down this low because my knees don't bend. But believe me, your knees bend. People say they don't bend. They stop bending. I say, yeah, but I saw you in the restaurant. How did you get in the chair? You know, did you get the waiter to hit you in the back of the legs and then you fell down? When you take a bath at night, do you just fall into the tub? How do you do that? Your knees bend. Use your knees and use your body to give you that big lift. Now, when you're getting ready to hit the ball, forget about low net skimmers. They're just a terribly low percentage shot. Here's what we want you to do. We would like you to hit the ball up over the net 6 feet. If you can get it 6 feet up over the net, over the outstretched hand of that person who's holding the racket, and if you'll run this little test, you'll see your ball will go 78 feet deep when you hit it 38.8 miles per hour. Watch this. You see the person is holding the racket up, and the ball is going over that racket head and still landing in the court. But you may not believe that until you put it to the test yourself. Now, look at this solid net. We put the camera right at the eye level of a person 6 feet 6 inches tall. And notice that person's eyes see no part of the opponent's playing surface. So that net is really high. Also remember on topspin, if you hit it hard and it's going over and down, it's tough on volleyers because the ball's going over and sinking down very, very quickly. So you don't like to come into the net and bend. Well, that's how you control spin. You're going to be absolutely great. You're going to beat so many people. Now let's go to the service return.
Here's Bjorn Borg again. This time he's receiving serve. Tommy Gorman's going to rush in because he's got to get in there as close as he can against Bjorn Borg. But Bjorn Borg can hit with topspin. Now notice, Bjorn Borg hits the ball with topspin and goes over the net quickly and down at the feet of the onrushing server. It makes it almost impossible to return. But this is more the style that we see here at the tennis college. Take a look at this. We say you want to attack on the service return. But watch what this beautiful woman does. She backs up. You can't back up. You have to go after the ball. Don't let the ball come to you. You go to the ball. I really love this one. Watch, this is one of my favorites. She's great. See, she doesn't move her feet. She doesn't move her body. But she puts her hand up over the mouth and says, I must have made a mistake. Remember, everyone should know the effects of spin. And when you see that person slicing the ball, you know it's going to break to your right or to your left. You've got to really get a fast first step. Otherwise, you're going to be swinging at flies and mosquitoes.
Why is it that people don't think much about the service return? Especially, why is it they don't even work on the service return? It is the second ball hit in every point in the history of the sport. And people don't go out and work on the service return at all. It is so doggone important. Now, on the service return, it's true, there's a different service return for beginners and advanced players. Beginners, because the beginning server doesn't hit the ball very hard, they can take a regular forehand and a regular backhand shot. But that's not true in good tennis. That ball is coming 100 and 115, 120, 130 miles an hour. And, man, you don't have time to go through all this nice, smooth, beautiful motion. You got to come in with shorter motion, firm grip, all kinds of things, body movement. And so we really want to get in it so you can understand it. But people say, well, maybe it's too complex for me. It isn't too complex for anybody. The fact is that most people start making excuses about their service return. Honestly, you see people say, boy, I don't know what it is today. Normally I'm terrific, but I'm not hitting the ball at their feet today. Well, Jack Kramer used to tell me, watch carefully, because you're probably not hitting at their feet, their waist, their chest. You're probably not even returning it. You know, you've got to get the doggone thing back. Now, I watch people all the time, and it's so common. People will serve the ball and double fault. Then their opponent will serve the ball, and they knock the service return into the net. Now, obviously, they lose 6-love, 6-love. They go up to the net and go, you're too tough. How would you know? I mean, you don't know if they're too tough. The fact is, you didn't even give them a chance to lose. So you need a good service return. Now, if an opponent has an unbelievable serve, think about it this way. If that's the only shot they have is a big serve, and you know people like that, then if you have a good service return, you automatically take away their biggest weapon. So you need a good service return. And again, reminding you, it is the second ball hit in every point in the history of the sport. So treat it with the respect that it really deserves. Now, what grip do you use? And the answer is the same as we showed you on the forehand and backhand. A regular Eastern forehand grip and a regular backhand grip. And again, the ball is coming fast, but you have sufficient time to change grips on the volleys, and now you're further back. You're 39 feet back away from the net. You even have more time to change forehand to backhand on the service return. So the regular grips. But one thing we have not discussed in this series, and that is how to get a tight grip. Many people say, well, I just give it a death clutch. But we found that if you'll kind of think about the third and fourth fingers, the ring finger and little finger, squeeze those, and the other two fingers have a tendency to fall into line for you. So you tighten the third and fourth, and it seems to make the grip get tighter. Now, where do you stand? Now, watch carefully, because where you stand on a service return is so important to you. You will stand basically halfway between the range your opponent has on the serve. Well, how do you know what the range is? You have to go out and scout them. Go watch people serve. Now, if their range is only between here and here, stand here. That's all you need to do. The range is halfway between here and the sideline. Stand here. Now, in beginning tennis, you have a tendency to stand about halfway between the center line, sideline. But in advanced tennis, you can't stand like this, because in advanced tennis, the pros or the tournament players can hit between the center line and the fence, and you'll have to divide the distance halfway. Now, if there's a left-handed server like McEnroe serving, he can move you all the way to the fence and beyond it. So you may even have to return against him here. But that's not, beginners always stand here, even against beginning servers, because they don't want anything to the backhand. But you remember, you can't say, hey, look, Helen, anything to my backhand is out. You can't do that. Now, keep in mind that running around your backhand, if you're a beginner, is not a bad trait, by the way, because you can be late on a forehand service return and still hit the ball, because the shoulder housing your hitting arm's on the back. And so many beginners have been told, never run around a backhand. Actually, that's wrong. An interesting tip for you is the best players in the world will run around their backhand. But we're saying to you, don't think you can run around every backhand. You're going to have a good forehand, a good backhand. All right, now, when you are getting in the ready position, understand, we've mentioned this many, many times before, that you may want to get down like this as a reminder that somebody's getting ready to serve. But just as they throw the ball up and get ready to serve, the top players come up, because you can move faster laterally from a higher center of gravity. There's a lot of research to support that. So don't get down too low and don't go through so many crazy movements. Now, what about your wrist? You said tighten the fingers. The wrist has to be firm. Just before you hit, tighten the wrist. Why do you need a firm grip and a firm wrist? Because on the service return, they're hitting the ball very hard, and you're apt to be caught off-center on the racket face. If you're off-center, then you need a firm grip to send it back. All right, let's take a look. I'm getting in a ready position, and now I'm thinking, just before they hit, I keep my fingers tightened and then lock the wrist. All right, you want to keep the racket face on the ball. This is a very big thing on a service return. Most people don't know it, but when we film them on the service return, they always get the racket face off the ball. The elbow comes in and the racket goes back. Now you've got to time this racket face for a good hit, but it's a very difficult thing to do. You want to keep the racket face out. Well, how do you do that? You put an elbow up. If the elbow's in and the racket goes back, if you could time it, fine. But most people who hit service returns like this are lucky to keep it in the state. You know, they're much less, because remember, 1 degree is 6 feet of length. But if you raise the elbow, now on the service return, you see how long the racket face is pointed towards the target? So if you mistime the ball, you can hit it here, 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 or here, and still be very good. But boy, if you come in and lay it back, and I have that particular problem myself, so I have to really work on it, which you'll see. Now on the left side, you'll see that the body can use the elbow too. Make the elbow stay up, and it keeps the racket face on the ball. And we'll show you how to use both of those elbows. But the key is, even while you're thinking about your elbow, remember your body is the #1 energy supplier. So just make the body turn. But most people get caught and go, see, well, we don't want you to freeze the body and throw the arm. We want you to freeze the arm and throw the body. And go into it with the body, and it'll give you a lot of power. Now, on the service return, you want to hit through the ball, and the stroke will look like this. It's just like a bow, an inverted bow and a bow and arrow. And you hit the ball, you come this way, and try to finish up, because you don't want to finish down on this shot if you can possibly help it, because now you got to get ready for the next shot and then bring your racket up. People say, yes, but there's a backhand chip service return that looks like this. But you'll see that it doesn't quite look that way. There are many people who think that's the way it looks. I want you to watch Bob Lutz on this film. He has one of the best service returns in the whole doggone world. And people tell me how Bob comes straight down on the ball. But watch carefully. See, it looks like he's coming down on the ball. His racket starts high, but do you notice he only has a slight down hit like a bow? And look at the point of impact. His racket isn't tilted under, this famous chip that people talk about. His racket is absolutely straight up and down at impact. That's Bobby Lutz, and if you can hit that way, you're going to be famous too. But finish high. Even though Bob's head drags a little bit because of the impact of the ball, he makes sure the racket gets back up high. All right, the follow-through then is up, and you want that racket head to finish up, so you're now ready for the next play. But you'll see when you're hitting the service return, the tendency is to bring the doggone racket down. but try to keep it up. Remember, the bow is going to be up. Now, remember, these two heads are related. This head and this head. So if this head looks up, so does this head look up. See? So you want to make sure that when you hit, and this is the hardest thing for me, I have to practice it by the hour, is make the hit and then keep this racket head very still coming through. But I have a tendency, because remember, the brain works 200 milliseconds ahead of the shot. You have a tendency, the brain's already made the shot, so you look up to see where you've hit it. But you have not hit it yet. Now, I want people to also learn to take one shot at a time. The problem is you're kind of getting ready for the second serve, but you're really on the first serve. So don't take anything in the back of your mind as being, oh, this is a wasted serve, I only get ready for the second one, because the first one may go in. So only take it one shot at a time. And if you are getting run out of court, remember this, if somebody's running you wide out of court, don't try to hit a big winner, just get it back, throw it up, keep the ball high, get it back in play, and at least if your opponent's at the net, they're going to have to make a winner. They're going to have to beat you. Tracy Austin does it better than anybody I've seen. When she gets out of court on a service return, she just throws it back, gets it into play, and doesn't try anything fancy. Now, there are two objectives against net rushers if you're going to return serve. You want to try to hit the ball at their feet, so when they're rushing in after the serve, if you can hit the service return at their feet, they get caught in no man's land and trapped. And if you could also make them bend over plus moving sideways, now you've got even a double advantage. So try to hit low and move them wide on the service return if you can. But that does not come before just getting the doggone thing back. I say, don't try to get back 2 out of 3. Try to get back 100 out of 100 before you ever worry about going at their feet or their waist or their chest. Get it back. Give them a chance to lose to you. Now, people say, wait a minute, when we play, no one attacks. We have this agreement. They're not going to come in. If they serve and stay back, now you don't have to hit a ball at their feet. Now you try to keep it deep, because in tennis, the first person that hits the short ball is in a little bit of trouble. So you keep it deep. And if you get yourself into that position, say they've hit you a soft serve, and then you can hit the doggone ball deep, now you may be able to take the net away from them. All right, now let's take a look at some service returns. And now I'm going to put everything into practice to see if Fat Albert can pull it off. Now, I got to put my elbows up. Now I step in, watch the ball. Did my head stay still? Short swing, elbow up. Watch the swing. Not too bad. I may go back on the tour. All right, here we go. All right, now let's take a look on the backhand. But you see, it didn't need much. Now my elbow's going to stay up, and they're going to put me under pressure. But I could feel that lay back on that one. Watch again. Shorten it, Vic. Shorten it. Not bad. Now turn your bod, Vic. I know it bends somewhere. All right? Good. Now see if my head looks up. All right, see, that was my best service return, and my head actually stayed down. But here's typical. This typical look. So don't do that. Keep your head still, elbow up, step forward, and you got it. Now, what happens if you get a nice service return like this? You see your opponent staying back, and you can go forward. All right, he serves the ball to me, and I'm ready to go. I see staying back. I keep it deep, I'm going in. That's called an approach service return. You can actually approach the net on a service return. And I got to tell you, 3 laps around the refrigerator, I need a nap. I am out of shape. Later on in this series, we're going to do a show on conditioning, and I'm going to be the first to listen. All right. When you go to the net, that's called an approach shot. You can go to the net on any opportunity. If your opponent serves a short ball, you go on in. Soft second serves, little dinkers, hit it and go in. As a matter of fact, if you are playing against somebody who hits that little balloon ball on the second serve, I would attack it all the time. Don't try to slug the second serve, because your racket head will get off and you'll make some errors. Better to just play your approach shot, come on in. Now, you can also rally back and forth, wait for a short ball, and then go in. But any time you're backcourt and you're getting ready to go into the net, you're always waiting. You see the opportunity. It's short. Now you come in, ear to chin to ear. It's the same as the service return. A little ball like this. You're on your way in, and remember, it's always the result of your opponent's weak shot. Now you come to the net. Now when you get here, you're now ready to make a volley. But remember, what you want to do is understand that you're going to get an approach shot because of an opponent's weakness. So if you go the other way with it, if you're the player, understand that you never want to hit a short ball first. In tennis, the first one to hit a short ball is theoretically the loser. So don't hit short balls. Bring your ground strokes up under your chin. Elevate the ball high up over the net. Keep your opponent deep. Now, if you do get the first short ball, you must be ready. People are never ready. They go, oh, it's short. And then they go in. See? But a good player is always like this. It's going to be short. It's going to be short. Because it's going to be short. Because we know statistically, that's why most people get the name intermediates. Because they hit short balls. All right, so it's going to be short. So bingo, it's short. But never be surprised if it's short. Only be surprised if it's deep. All right, so you see the short ball. You take off. Now you're on your way. But people who hit the approach shot in intermediate tennis, they usually see them with their facial expression. They usually go, oh, here goes nothing. So, but you don't want to say, here goes nothing. What you want to say, wow, great opportunity. Now you come in. Because that's the shot that's supposed to earn you the big game or the big set. And remember, the approach shot is the third biggest shot in the game. First is the serve, second is the service return, and third is the approach shot, because that's what you've been waiting for all this time. A short ball. You've got it. You've got the fast step. Now you're coming in. Well, how do your feet work? Well, the feet, the racket head, have a very precise manner. The racket head stays smooth. It makes a swing as in a bow, like a bow and arrow. All it is this. The elbow stays out, the same as the service return. Face of the racket stays on the ball. But the feet have a different movement. As your body is turning sideways to get ready for the shot, you see the feet don't know where to go. Well, the way you move when you're learning to hit this shot is the back foot always steps in front of the front foot, like this. And as you get better, some of the pros don't move sideways. They'll come in almost facing the net and make this movement. But I'm suggesting that maybe you're not quite ready for Wimbledon yet. But don't let the foot go behind, because here's what happens. People go, right, and they're in trouble. And it happens a lot. So if you do bring this foot behind, you'll probably have to jump off the ground, which you'll see some pros do, to get time to bring this foot back around the front. But I suggest you come in scissor step it, and it looks like this. And then you've got it. But believe me, the approach shot is so important. I almost cry when I see people play the game. They finally get the short ball and can't do anything with it. Now remember, you're going to the net. You should know where you're going. You're going to hit the ball normally into your opponent's backhand corner, because backhands have a tendency to hit higher and longer balls. Now that's not true with some people, but you go scout them, find out which way you're going. But the key is to know which side you're going to hit that ball to before you ever go out to the arena to play. Most people get a short ball. They go, oh, the guy's running left, he's running right. I think I got him. But then it rolls down your thigh. See, you can't do that. What you got to do is know that here's a short ball. When I get it, I'm going into the backhand corner. My target zone is 16 square feet. Actually, a 4x4 zone. That's 16 square feet. So now I come in, I know where it's going, I make my hit, and I also should know precisely where I'm going to run. Where am I going to run to? I will run halfway between this net and this service line, 3 feet to the right of the center. So bingo. That's it. So I should know that. There's no mystery. I don't come up and look around. You know, I know where it is. That's the spot. So I come in. Now, when you land, don't land with glue on your feet, because we see this all the time. People go, oh, finally. Right? Well, you don't want that. When you get to the net, you run up to the net, and now you go, because this is only a bus stop. Now, if they're going to drive the ball, you don't want to volley from here, because you volley at about a 30-degree potential. If you see they're going to drive, get to here. Now you can close off the volley 130-degree angle potential if you're closer to the net. If your opponent's going to lob the ball, then you turn around and go 1, 2, 3.
Vic Braden's Tennis for the Future is made possible by a grant from Connecticut General Insurance Corporation and its subsidiaries, Aetna Insurance Company and Connecticut General Life Insurance Company.
You know, the deadliest shot in all tennis is the overhead smash. And if you hit it properly, it's virtually unreturnable. I love hitting the overhead smash because I can win the point outright. Right away, I can put that thing away if I hit a good one. All right? Pow! Bingo! Pow! Wow!
This is fun, baby. You gotta love it. I mean, just imagine. You hit shots like that, you're gonna feel like the best pros in the whole world. But you know what? Sometimes it doesn't always quite work for you. I'm gonna get in there and hit a few more because I'm feeling so good I think that I can do this all day long. I can't quite do it. Hit the net, son of a gun. Give me another one. Out. Now it's starting to get humiliating. But I'm in there. I got it. Son of a gun. You know, it should be fun, and I should be laughing, but I'm mad because I don't like missing overheads, and I know you don't either. It seems to bring up a lot of emotional responses when you don't hit your overhead well. Now, you've seen me make a couple, miss a couple. But let's see what you can do, because maybe you can handle my case pretty good. Penny, I want you to get ready to lead your line up here. You're going to each hit 3 overheads, and you'll be coming right on up to the net to hit that son of a gun. And if you want to put that ball away and put a hole in the fence, that's fine. Let's see what you can do. And I'll coach you as you're hitting. Here we go. Move in a little bit more. All right, Penny is facing the net, but it was a very good grunt. All right. Now, you fell down, Penny. Keep your chin up when you hit. And we'll go through all these details later. Don't worry, just remember what I'm telling you. Oh, there goes the... All right, come on, Tony, get in there. I'm not hearing too many pings. Now, Tony's going to keep the chin up. Good. Try to get your side to the net. Loose arm. Don't hit down on your overhead. Hit up. All right, hit up on the overhead, never hit down. All right, Fred's in. Fred dropped his chin. Don't hit down. Hit up at the ball. Good. Side to the net and turn your body. Very good, Fred. And keep that arm loose. Marie is up. Get in there, Marie. Don't get a fast first step. Don't wait for the ball. Get in, Marie. That's it. That's it. Let it drop too low. Reach up. Keep your chin up and snap your forearm. Marie's forearm is a little stiff. Deidre's in. Give her 2 more, 3 more out there, Ralph. Because she's a player, I can tell that. Look, nice, loose arm. Good looking. She's a tournament player. That's easy to see. Joe is up. I remember you, Joe. You're the big slugger, right? See that? Good, Joe. You hit that ball well. Keep your side to the net. You're a little tight on the arm. Loosen your shoulder. Keep your chin up. Try to hit it early. All right, Marlene, you're letting it drop a little bit too low. Reach up, Marlene. Reach up early. Sooner. Much better. Don't let it come to you. You go to the ball. Margie's up. Watch this, baby. Margie's a little short on the swing. Get your body turned, Margie. Turn your side. And now hit that thing. Let that forearm snap. Sandy's up. Here we go, Sandy. Don't face the net. Good. That's it. Sandy's late on that one. Don't let it come back to you, Sandy. Get it out in front. Late again. And when we come back, Sandy, well, we're going to be talking about the price you pay if you're late. Good looking. I've watched this gentleman hitting overheads. He hasn't missed one since 8 o'clock. All right. See, you get somebody cocky, it's a pretty good psychological trick. All right. Here we go. Watch it. Keep your eye on the ball. Good. Now get up early, early. Don't let it be late. You're going to hit it on the frame. Then you don't hear the ping. I think that... Okay, Marv's in. Good. Keep your chin up. Don't drop your chin. Nice. Ooh, that's nice. Now hit up at it. That's good. Don't hit down, Steve. All right, Steve. Steve's got the stiff arm. Watch, that elbow doesn't bend. He's talented. You can see that. He times it. But the elbow does not bend, so we're going to be checking his elbow out a little bit later. All right, Cindy's up. Cindy, go out and get it. Don't let it come to you. Go get it. That's it. Don't be afraid of it, Cindy. Reach up. Go get it. Go get it. Swing. Cindy, you want to make sure it comes down to you. All right, Steve's up. Come on, Steve. You feel just like me, Steve. I know how you feel, baby. Good. Hi, Kay. Move in there. Kay's another tournament player. Let that one drop too low, Kay. Go up and get it. Go get it, Kay. Don't let it come to you. Here we go. Watch it. Good shot. Got behind you on that one. Get fast first step back. Don't wait for the ball. That one got back to you, too. All right, Billy. Keep your eye glued on the ball. You're facing the net, Billy. Get your side around. Don't show the ball machine your belly button. Hank. All right, Hank. Side of the net.
Nice loose arm, Hank. Keep your chin up. That's good. Don't drop your chin. Keep it up. That one, Hank, you looked out a little bit early. You were trying to pick up the trophy, but the ball had not arrived yet. All right, good. Keep your chin up, Lori. I love it, though, when you can laugh before you even hit. That's good. You're for me, Lori. You got the... Oh, look at that. Lori's hardly played the game, and she's already hitting overheads. Watch the ball. Keep your chin up. Hit it early. You're facing it up. Get your side in that a little bit more. Nice. Nice looking. But your elbow's a little tight. Kelly's up. Watch the ball. You're facing that, Kelly, a little bit. Turn your side a little bit, and it'll get you more body. You want body. You're going to see that when we go into all the details. As much body as you can possibly get. All right, let's go. There's another tournament player. Late. That'll get you in trouble if you're late. Let that one get too low. Peak of your reach if you can. Come on in there, Penny. One more time. We'll give you 2 chances. See, because I just love the way you grunt. There you go. You got it, Penny. That's good. If Penny would have let that thing get any lower, I think she was going to have to string up her kneecap. All right. We started with Penny and we ended with Penny. And I appreciate it. I saw a lot of things that are going to help you. And we're going to get into the basics of the overhead smash right now. We're going to give you 30 or 40 points that are going to send you on your way to Wimbledon. So be ready to pack up right after you hear some of these points. Let's start with the definition of the overhead smash. The definition of the overhead, as I see it, is any ball you hit up in the air once you've served. That's up over your head like this, because the serve is not necessarily considered an overhead smash, but it is in a way. But when you're up in the middle of the court and some opponent throws up a lob, and now you get your chance to end the point, to make the big kill, that's usually considered the overhead smash. Now, it can be deadly if you have a power supply. That is, if you have a power supply that's working. Now, where do you get the power supply? And this is something some of you don't know, because I watch you come up and hit your overhead like this. Now, the problem with that is your power supply is your body. It's not the arm. It's the body that makes the arm snap. So when you come up, you got to be loose. So come up and give it a little of this. But don't come up and give it this. All right, so you're going to be nice and loose. Now, you're going to have to turn the body, because if you coil your body, then you have something to uncoil. Well, that means you can't be out there facing your opponent all the time. Turn your body. Now, we have a little item here called the kinetic chain. If you've seen some of our previous shows, you know about the kinetic chain. But we have to review it, because it's exactly the same as the serve. And so you want to know where these similarities are. Start with, remember the power supply and the number of segments are 4 on the ground strokes and backhand and 5 on the serve. It starts this way. From the foot up to the knee is segment 1. From the knee to the hip is segment 2. From the hip to the head is 3. And the forearm is 4, and the wrist is 5. So there are 5 segments on this overhead smash and 5 segments on a serve. So it's very similar. All right, now watch how these segments work for power. Remember, it's just as though you are snapping a whip. When you snap a whip and go, zoom, and stop the hand, the whip goes through the air very fast. But if you make the whip do this, you can't get any power. So when you turn these segments, think about the whip. Stop with the knee, and that will make the next segment go through like a whip. Zoom. And if this stops, this next one goes like the whip. Zoom. And if this one stops, this next one goes like a whip. Well, let's take a look at how that applies to the overhead smash. I go 1, 2, 3, and if I stop this one, the forearm is segment 4. That's got to snap, and then the wrist. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, 5 segments on the kinetic chain on the overhead smash, just like the serve. Now, the grip on the overhead smash is exactly the same grip as you use for the serve. It is the Continental Grip. So take a look at this. Remember, on the regular Eastern forehand, you had a palm on the backside. On the Continental Grip, the palm is not on the backside, and it's not on the top. It's halfway between. It's on ridge number 2. 1, 2, 3. Put the palm on ridge number 2, and you now have the Continental Grip. And that's the same grip you will use for serving. When you start your swing on the overhead smash, and I saw some of you come up and going, well, you don't have to do any of that. You can go very, very slowly on the overhead smash, because the speed of the backswing
has nothing to do with the power supply. Let me have a ball just for a second, and I will show you that on the overhead smash, I can go back 2 miles an hour. Ah! See, so you can really deck that thing. But when you start going, well, there's no relationship. Slow up on the backswing. Now, not the backswing for preparation, but from this point on, you don't have to go fast. Just prepare early, but don't try to get your power supply in some kind of a jerky backward motion. Just simply turn the body. Don't worry about taking the racket back. I kept saying, relax, relax. We want you all to relax out there. But it's hard to relax. That doggone ball's in the air, and you're going, here it comes. Well, you can't relax. It's very hard. But if you will just exhale and think about your breathing sometime, especially if that ball's high in there, go, okay, relax. But most people go, and then hit. If you inhale, you tighten. If you exhale, you relax. Make sure that when you swing, you are nice and easy. Make sure that the racket face is down on your backswing, because when the racket face is down, now when you turn, the arm will look like this, and the forearm pronation or the forearm turning will smack that overhead. It's the shoulder turn that makes this all-important snap. Now let me show you. We will do it exactly the same as we did it on the serve, so you people at home, you can practice in the living room if you want to, but don't bill me for the lamps. Watch this. The racket is parallel to the ground. Now I start my kinetic chain. 1, 2, 3, and it's this shoulder turn that makes the snap. Now watch, I hold the racket 2 fingers, loose, go spaghetti. Now watch as I start to make my turn right here. I start the turn. 1, 2, 3, I'm spaghetti, and zoom. It's the shoulder turn that makes the loop. And that's all the power that's going to come into fruition as a result of that kinetic chain. But if you come up and face the net, and then the arm is stiff, you don't get power from your body or power from the forearm. On the overhead smash, you don't want to use bicep power, because if you come in like this, and I saw some of you going, I'm going to kill this thing, man. But if you tighten this bicep, it pulls the arm in. The secret to a good serve is to throw the arm out. So it's loose, spaghetti. Now we want you to keep your chin up when you hit the overhead smash. It's hard, but if you think about keeping the chin up, then when you hit the overhead smash, your racket will go through in a very smooth pattern. But what happens with most people, the brain actually works ahead of the shot. Remember, the brain works 200 milliseconds, or about 1/5 of a second, ahead of the shot. So in your mind, you've already made the overhead. You look up, and you say, here it goes, nice shot. And then you hit it. And then you walk up to the net to get the ball, you see. So don't drop the chin. And so many of you, I kept saying to you while you're hitting your overheads, chin up, chin up. Now you'll know why, because your brain works ahead of the shot. And if you don't keep your chin up, you'll think you've already made the shot, and you'll drop the ball into the net. Now, there are some real exceptions from the serve to the overhead smash. And to start with, the reason we want you to keep that chin up, too, is that Dr. Patrick Keating has discovered that on an overhead smash, it's a little different from the serve from this standpoint. On the serve, you call the shots. The ball is just sitting right where you want it. But on the overhead smash, your opponent has lobbed the ball. It is dropping, and it's dropping rapidly, and now it's hard to judge that thing, but you will have to swing up at an 8-degree plane. In other words, here's where you're going to hit the ball. If you swing up 8 degrees, you won't even hit a long overhead. Most people say, if I hit at 8 degrees, I'll knock the ball over the fence. Wrong. Let me show you this. If I'm hitting my overhead smash right from this line, if I hit up 8 degrees from horizontal, the ball's on this level, if I hit up 8, the ball only goes about 43 feet long. From here, just past the service line on the other side. And that is not a big, deep overhead smash. That's actually short and fairly risky. So at least 8 degrees up. But I watch some of your facial expressions, and I know that some of you who are short as me, you're up there thinking about you're going to hit it down on the kill. You cannot hit it down. Don't hit your overheads down unless you're almost all the way into the net. If you're standing on top of the net, fine, but I tell all my students, anywhere back in the service box or at the middle of the court, only swing up, never swing down. Now, as I said, judging the ball is another exception, because the ball is dropping. It's very difficult. The ball is dropping out of the sky. And when the shot is going to be coming from the sky, it's hard for depth perception to measure when to swing. You remember when I was saying to you, no, sooner. So you all want to make sure, you see, I know what he says, but I want to make sure I get a hit. Right? That's the problem. You're afraid you're going to go up there and swing early. I suggest to all of you that you be too early. Laura, you did it so well. You missed the shot completely, you got a little worried, then the next one you got your racket on the ball, and then all of a sudden, you just said, I'm going to go out and hit that dumb thing. I don't care about this coach. And you kept your chin up and you hit it very, very nicely. But you've got to go for it. This shot, you must go for it. Don't sit back and not go for it. Because when the ball's dropping on the overhead smash, now if you choke and get nervous and you're standing here, now you hit a little baby shot, what do you think they're going to do to you? You've hit a short ball to them, they're running in and they're going like this and you're caught. I mean, you're going to go, nice shot. That's your problem. You've got to hit that overhead. It's an all or nothing shot. So go for it. Now, your feet have a big responsibility on the serve. When your feet are in contact with the ground, on the serve, it allows this kinetic chain to take place. But on the overhead smash, sometimes you get caught having to jump because the ball's over your head. If you jump, your feet are not in contact with the ground. And if your feet are not in contact with the ground, the kinetic chain cannot unwind. So you see an interesting little thing called a scissor step from better overhead hitters. Here's how the scissor step works. You'll see the player come up, and their feet go this way, and then you'll see these legs kick. They'll go. Now, why is this left leg shooting back? Because if I can generate a force going that way, it will help the other leg go in the opposite direction. And that's why the scissor kick is made, because you don't have those stabilizers, so you need some help to help bring the right shoulder through. Remember, for every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So I get one reaction going this way, that helps me get a reaction going in the opposite direction. So that's why the scissor kick. By the way, you see it with the top volleyball players, too. They jump up to smash, and you'll see the scissor kick take place on a lot of them. Now, the last point, which is a big point. We watch people all the time, and sometimes, by the way, we're criticized for this, but we see people all over the world pointing their finger at the dropping lob. And I understand. It gives you some cue, some reference point, and I'm not saying to anybody that you can't do it. What I'm saying is, look at the problems this generates. You point your finger. Now, how do you get your body around for the kinetic chain? See, and so people go like this, but if you watch carefully with the pros, you don't see them point the finger first. And people say, you're wrong. I've watched pros play for years. I see the finger pointing at the ball. But what you'll see when you hit with slow motion film is this. The body turns and the elbow points first. And they go elbow to finger. Now the elbow points, it helps turn the body and the kinetic chain is taking place. So elbow to finger. And now you get all 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But what most people do is they point the finger and they go. And there's no body. So if you can try pointing the elbow first. Now again, the chin is going to stay up. You're going to turn your side. Now what makes this forearm snap so much? Well, you'll see that with most of the top players, an interesting thing. When they go up to hit, the chin is up, but an interesting phenomenon which very few people pick up. Just as they go to hit, this front shoulder stops. Now I'm going to turn into you. Now watch this carefully. You'll see this go back, and then you'll see this shoulder stop, and they go, and then the left arm comes down. Because when this shoulder stops, it makes the forearm snap. Now, one other little exception. You can take your pick, but we see this happening every once in a while. On serves, most people start here, and they go down. But on overhead smashes, you don't need to go down. And on serves, you don't need to go down. You can go around at about waist level. But I would suggest, because sometimes you're trapped on the overhead smash, is that, and you're going to need to react quickly, I would suggest that you simply make a turn like this and keep the racket at eye level. Now, if you keep it at eye level, now you're going to be ready to make the hit. And I'm going to have Ralph throw me a couple lobs here, and watch, when I come back at eye level here, you'll see the body turn, and it's a short swing. All right? Now, watch my left shoulder. All right? Okay, you see, I can make this turn like this, get my power supply, point the elbow first and then the finger. But so often when you see the finger pointed, it's the end of this roll. So don't get this look. And remember, part of our problem on the serve was people are trying to imitate the trophy. All right. Remember that you need a fast first step to get in position for the overhead. I kept saying, hurry, when you're running in to hit the ball. Hurry, you got to get up there. But some of you didn't seem to hurry. You say, why, man? It's nice out here. So, but in the overhead smash, it's dropping so fast, you need every bit of help you can get. So when you're playing the net, if you're playing here, for example, what you're looking for is a very fast first step. Well, how do you get it? Because if you will watch for visual cues, in other words, if that opponent is over there going like this, they're not going to lob. So now you want to get in closer to the net. But if you see your opponent going like this, they ain't going to drive, right? So when they're like this, you turn and go back. Now, if you say, I don't know how to go back, it's always baffled me. Well, you can turn and go 1, 2, 3, or you can just go 1, 2, 3. I prefer, and take your best shots at me, I prefer that my students turn and run back, 1, 2, 3, because statistics will show you and research will show you that you can take 2 steps running forward for every 1 you can go backwards. If you couldn't do that, a lot of sprinters would be running backwards on the 100-yard dash, all right? So, but yeah, we see very good players in pro tennis. One player, one of the partners will turn and run, and the other partner will just simply backpedal. So you see both. Take your pick, but practice both. But I've seen a lot of intermediates not practice, and they go like this and fall. You've seen a lot of people fall backpedaling for the overhead smash. So those are the basics on the overhead smash. Now I'm going to hit 3. All those points I've just given you, you see whether or not I put them into effect on my overhead smash. All right, 3 shots. Get your feet moving, Vic. You're too slow. Not too bad. Keep your chin up, Vic. That's better. Ooh, you went up for the ball. I could feel it. Ah. You know, I kind of felt good on these overheads because I was moving my feet. And moving your feet, I think, really helps out a lot. Now, my chin is up, and my body's going out there all right. But look at that foot. I'm late. I should have been way out in front of that ball. It's been a story of my life, late. I got the ball in all right, but I'm not going to always be that lucky. Number 2, I'm saying, look, you give me enough overheads, I think I can do it. All right, body's turning, chin is up. I'm following the ball pretty well. Shoulders rolling, elbow, forearm snapping, good. I'm further out in front, left toe on the ground, good. Notice, by the way, that that wrist was snapping after the hit. A lot of forearm. You got to relax that forearm. All right, here we go. Final one. Come on, make that third one a good one, baby. Feet moving. I'm tracking the ball pretty good, at least. My big problem is I didn't used to look up at the ball enough. I dropped my chin too early, but now I'm keeping it up, it looks like. Good deal. You got to feel pretty good about that. It's true. It is a fun shot to hit. All right, Penny, you and Steve come on in. Because, Penny, I'm going to have you hit 2 overheads now, and I get to watch you. Steve, you're going to go right in after Penny hits 2. You hit 2. And then we'll do the same thing. We're going to watch you on slow motion replay. All right, Penny, move on in there. Crack those 2 overheads. Come on, baby. Watch that ball. Still letting it fall a little low, huh? Well, you're the smartest person who just blew 2 overheads. Not too bad. Let's go over and watch it on slow motion replay. All right, Penny, what I'm looking for now, I remember the last time you didn't go up after the ball. You let it come down to you. Now watch. It looks like you're going to go up, but you don't. You wait for the ball to come down. And there's where you're in trouble. You got to go up to meet the ball. Remember, go up to greet the ball. Say hello on your way up, but don't let the ball come down to you. And you get in trouble again. Watch the second one. Everything looks perfect. You look like you're going to just pound that thing. Look, turn your body a little bit more. You're facing the net, but not that nice elbow bend. You're watching the ball, and then all of a sudden you say, I can't go. I got to let the ball come to me. And you're in trouble again. All right. But you'll get
human evolution. And they are sort of repelled by the idea that a creature with such a small brain and such a primitive jaw could have anything to do with human ancestry. They want Lucy, they want the ape men and the ape women out of the family tree. And what we're saying is that they're perfect ancestors for human beings.
White says the way to settle this controversy is to go back to even older fossils. There he expects to find a species that separates apes and man 5, 6, or even 10 million years ago.
We're going to be looking for creatures showing a transition from walking on 4 legs to walking on 2 legs, because this seems to have been the primary human adaptation. It sets the family of the apes and the humans apart, and what we're going to be looking for are evidences of this change in walking. And we can see, for instance, if we find a fossil knee joint at 5 million years ago, we'll be able to tell whether there were creatures already at 5 million years that walked on 2 feet. And this will pull the Darwinian scheme even further apart.
For now, White says, anthropologists are faced with a black hole of data. No good fossil records before 4 million years ago. So working with graduate students from Ethiopia, Tanzania, and research groups in several East African countries, White is setting out to find older fossils, fossils which he hopes will tell him how old man really is. In Berkeley, I'm Bill Skane for Science Notes.
This is KQED, Channel 9, San Francisco.